Controllers across the country, only 776 of them didn't miss a single day of work during the recent government shutdown. And now those 776 will be getting $10,000 bonuses. The FAA making the announcement after lifting the flight restrictions that were put in place during the shutdown because so many controllers called out sick. Working without a paycheck month, many of those controllers took on second jobs or simply stayed home because they couldn't afford child care. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Latest gauge on consumer sentiment finds Americans feeling less optimistic headed into the holidays. The University of Michigan surveys of consumers suggested a slight rise in sentiment after the end of the federal shutdown. Still, respondents said they were frustrated by stubbornly high prices and weakening incomes. One bright spot in the survey, the long-term expectation for inflation has softened this month. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Opryland got a crash, left two lanes blocked, Briley Parkway northbound and McGavick Pike. Rivergate 65 northbound approaching Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. And then if you're traveling to Chattanooga, just know that at Mont Eagle, they have now moved that car fire they were cleaning up. It is all off on the shoulder. They've reopened the two lanes, so things should be getting up to speed here shortly. I'm Ken Weaver.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Cameron Smith, filling in for Matt Murphy. I think he headed out a little early for some turkey time. And so you get me for 4 hours. Get excited. Jackson's excited. Ken Weaver's excited. There's just so much excitement happening here. It's a Friday. Not the freak off Fridays. We've learned from P. Diddy, you got to watch out for those. That's not
wow.
That can get dangerous.
Opening the show with a Diddy joke is not on the bingo card, but I respect it. I respect the opening.
I've asked Jackson to keep all the baby oil behind the glass, so that's where we are. Y'all be safe out there. It is snotty and slick.
Yeah.
It's gross.
Yeah,
so,
it's like the air is wet.
That is an accurate description. And I will tell you, my pickup, I was sliding a little bit. Just because it's just enough to put that slick surface on the road, but not enough that you're like thinking you have to really slow down. Take my word for it, folks. Slow down, be careful, get where you need to go.
It's mixing with all the oil leaking out of everybody's cars.
Right. And that is apparently why we have the EPA. 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986. Call in. I love it. This is your show. You tell me what you want to talk about. I got some topics to kind of get us going. And, I can see you too. I've got it set up for those of you who can see on YouTube. I've got it set up so I can see the Super Talk text line on a monitor. So, Ray, I see your vomit icon. I just said I was here. I didn't even say anything yet. Like, come on, man. I mean, that's hurtful. You know, it's like when I ask my kids if they want to hang out. Bleh. Yeah, it's fun. As I start every show that I fill in, y'all know that I'm a regular guest on Wednesdays, but when I fill in, I want to make sure that you guys know where I'm coming from because I think that really does matter. There's a lot of people that say a lot of things in opine, and they don't tell you kind of who's paying their bills. And I think that's really important. As you guys may know, I'm on the editorial board over at the Tennessean. I am a columnist over there. I very much appreciate you guys reaching out, emailing me topics, things that I can write about because just like this show, I write to the audience. I want to tackle topics that matter to you guys, what you're thinking about, what you're having conversations about. And I try to be a pretty steady conservative voice over there. I obviously am here. The bulk of my day job is at Thanks in Franklin, where we help folks grow business with gratitude. And if you haven't figured out what you're doing for your employees, colleagues, those folks over the holidays, you better get on it because this stuff is sneaking up on us. We got Thanksgiving next week, and then it's just a mad dash for the holidays. So, just be thinking about those type of things. And I also have the album Wasted Bacon. We're still getting that bad boy going. So if you haven't listened to it, go listen to it, and various other fun projects. So with that, I want you to help me out here. I'm struggling a little bit with, I read this article, and it's a kind of a weird place to jump off on. This is over at Axios, and it says, Scoop, Mike Johnson wants changes after being outflanked on Epstein files. And what it really talks about is the history of discharge petitions. And for those of y'all who don't know, if you have a bill that you introduce in Congress, and this was the Epstein Files Transparency Act that just became law, and in the House, the Speaker reigns supreme. The Speaker kind of sets the table, decides what's coming up for consideration, works with the Rules Committee to structure floor debate. So rank and file members who aren't in leadership have to work through committee chairs and the Speaker's office to get things on the floor for consideration and a vote. So one of the ways that a rank and file member can get around this is called a discharge petition. And so you introduce your legislation, and then you also file a discharge petition, which if you can get 218 signatures, for those who are counting, that's a majority in the House of Representatives, then you can discharge your piece of legislation from consideration at committee and bring it to the floor. And the Speaker Johnson does not like that because he's got, I believe, 2 votes to spare. And what he's doing is saying, I want to control the agenda. I want the threshold for forcing votes on the floor to be much higher if I can if I can block this. So what he's trying to do is say, well, let's make the threshold 250 votes. Now, we've already set the rules for the Congress, so he'd need Democratic help to do that. I don't think he's going to get it. But this is just concerning for me. I don't know where you guys were, but I thought that the incoming Republicans were about transparency, limited government, that they wanted the process to work, that this wasn't business as usual. And what I'm seeing is, well, no, we don't want to take any tough votes. We don't want to have to vote on things that the established leadership, and let me be very clear, if we're talking about establishment, there are few folks in Washington more established than congressional leadership. Most of them have been there for a long time. They've worked their way up through the ranks. And I will argue, Mike Johnson's still the most conservative speaker I've seen. And he's even trying to say, well, you know what I'd really like to do is consolidate my power. And I think it's a bad idea. I want to know what you think, 615-737-9986. But I think it's a very bad idea to give more power to leadership, even if it is Republican leadership. And what's happening is the Epstein files are a perfect example. Thomas Massie and I believe maybe Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert, one other Republican, and all the Democrats signed on the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which passed the House 427-1 on Tuesday. Well, here's the point. I don't know if y'all were paying attention to the news, but most Republicans were panning the legislation and saying, we've already been transparent enough. This is a distraction. Trump was calling this the Democratic hoax. I still don't know what that means. This matter's been adjudicated in courts of law. We know Epstein was a human sex trafficker doing all kinds of crazy, wild stuff, and had a lot of rich and powerful people in close contacts with him. There's no hoax there. So I don't know what that means. But a lot of Republicans are saying, we don't need to do this. This is a bad thing. We don't need it. And then the vote comes, and all but Clay Higgins from Louisiana voted for it. Why? Because they know at the end of the day, MAGA voters, Republican voters, all American voters are going to say, you're voting against transparency? And it's a bad look. So it flew through the House, flew through the Senate. And I think we have to have the ability to consider these types of pieces of legislation. When this is an 80-20 issue, 90-10 in favor of transparency, I've got a column that I filed over at the Tennessean that y'all should check out, and I'll tweet it out at D. Cameron Smith during one of the breaks. But this is just a blown opportunity. I mean, I just want you to think about this narrative. President Trump and the Republicans hold billionaires and the elite accountable for their behavior. They release the Epstein files, some folks get embarrassed, and you know what? They said that no one's above the law, and they promised transparency. They delivered. Man, that's a lot of political capital. That's all accruing to the benefit of President Trump and his policy priorities. Instead, we've been dragging our feet. We've been doing this for months, and nobody has told me why. This drain the swamp, right? Drain the swamp. And then it's, well, we wanted to. Y'all, I'm old enough to remember the notebooks. Y'all remember the notebooks, the ones that were out there, and they said Epstein Phase 1. And they gave them to certain Republican, I guess, MAGA influencers. I don't know exactly who it was, but they held up their notebooks with Epstein Phase 1. Phase 2 never came. It just floofed away. And that's just wrong. I don't know another way to put it. It's just wrong. This was, we promised transparency. Now we're dragging our feet. And then when we don't have a choice, we'll act like we're all for it. And I don't love that. Sandra says, as Matt explains it, Trump's involvement is a hoax. Well, even that doesn't make a ton of sense. He did have involvement with Epstein. He knew him. He's in pictures with him. Like, that's real. Do I think that there's evidence of criminal wrongdoing? No. But it's not as if he didn't know the guy. So that I don't really get that either. I mean, look, it is fair to say that Democrats want to take this issue and run with it. They want to smear Trump. They do not have an active agenda that is successful. They don't have a policy lane right now. They don't. They do not have a coherent set of issues upon which they can do really well other than, would you like another scoop of government? I'm serious. I mean, that's kind of where they are. So they think their best thing is to just tear down Republicans and go after Republicans, and they think the Epstein files is the way to do it. Here's my take on the broader issue. I just can't believe that. Think of it this way. The government has had all these files. They've been able to look into all these files. And you're telling me that the Biden administration didn't thoroughly scour all of this stuff for evidence of Trump criminality. If they didn't, that's truly shocking. If they did, then why wouldn't they have tried to bring it out? Why wouldn't they have leaked it? And I don't know the answer, but we're going to find out. And I think the real danger here is what Pam Bondi's doing. She is setting the table to argue that, well, there's ongoing active investigation. About what? Again, the government's had this information for 2 administrations now. You made a show of investigating and looking into this stuff. So now, when you're forced to be transparent, I think it's the clock's running. It's 27 days left, I guess, 28, till they have to turn everything over. And you're going to say now is the time to launch active investigations to prevent transparency. Now it really looks like you're trying to hide something. Let's see. 5068 says, the reason Trump doesn't want to release the docs is because even if he isn't on it, a lot of his friends are. Okay. You lie with dogs, you get fleas. But we'll run down that line of questioning and several other topics that we need to get into, talking 7th Congressional, and then anything y'all want to talk about on this Friday. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for USS, which stands for United Structural Systems. Since 1994, USS has been guaranteeing their best, and they have delivered. They've delivered over and over again. As a matter of fact, thousands upon thousands of testimonials available online at USSTN.com. Over 30,000 satisfied residential customers. That's a lot of customers, folks. You don't do as many jobs as they've done without doing it the right way. And frankly, folks, when you have a problem in your home, whether it's your foundation, waterproofing, or concrete leveling, you ought to call the best. You owe it to yourself. Call USS. They come out to your house. They're problem solvers. They don't upsell you on anything. They're just solving the issue that exists in your home. Sometimes they have to tell you the bad news. Sometimes they get to tell you good news. One way or the other, you know that they're telling you the truth about what you need to do. And friends, it's time to make that call. If you've noticed foundation issues, if you've noticed issues involving door sticking, window sticking, perhaps moldy or musty smells in the basement or crawl space, make the call to USS. 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855. It's USS, online at USSTN.com.
The FBI has wrapped up its investigation into the Trump rally shooting. What they found coming up at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
And we're back. Now, I appreciate the conversation that we're having about the Epstein files, and it's not even about the files anymore. It's about the basic underlying principle that counts for a lot, which is transparency and accountability. The whole point here was, and this is just populism 101, is the average American gets the same treatment under the law as the billionaires and politically connected. And it seems like the political class has a lot of folks they want to protect. And I don't think it's just Republicans. I think it's Democrats too. I think there's some real hesitancy. But my point is, I don't care. I don't think protecting billionaires from embarrassment is something that there's a public policy directive for America to do. You're worth $1 billion. You can hire people to manage your reputation. If you hang out with somebody like that, okay. I mean, it's not going to go well. Let's see. TB on the line says, he said Cam in all caps, so this is important. Please remind your audience U.S. flags are now supposed to be back up to full staff. Okay. There, you have been reminded. 0152 is talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene's new, more humble persona. Personal growth or horse poop? Discuss. I think that's an interesting topic because, man, she was MAGA early. She was one of the flag bearers, and I think the realization here is that there is no loyalty. You are loyal as long as you are useful, or I should say there is loyalty as long as you're useful. The moment that you're not useful or you're doing something against the Trump administration, Trump's done with you. Now, he may come back around when he needs some utility again, but there's only been a handful of politicians that have been able to stand up to Trump, and I'm talking about within the Republican Party, to stand up against Trump and be successful. Thomas Massie is one of them. Brian Kemp, governor of Georgia, is one of them. Rand Paul is one of them. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but the stuff Trump said about Thomas Massie's deceased wife and new wife, I mean, come on. That's childish stuff. That is horse poop. And I get it. I understand why rowing in the same direction is important. If you are a Republican who's always rowing the opposite direction, are you a Republican? Maybe not. But I also don't like the idea that members of Congress who are elected by their constituents can't ever question somebody in their own party, or the ideas of somebody or in their own party, or the president, if it's in their own party. In fact, I think the opposite should be true. Our founders envisioned a separation of power. They thought that ambition, this is in the Federalist Papers, ambition is going to counteract ambition. That, okay, the members of the House would want to prove themselves, and then members of the Senate would want to prove that they're better, and they'd all have tension with the president. And 1221 says, Thomas Massie is a clout-chasing clown. I disagree. He's really smart, incredibly smart. Very talented guy who I've seen go toe-to-toe with radical liberals and leave them in a pile of pieces while remaining extremely calm. He is a very principled guy. I understand why he annoys people, because he's going to point out, well, here's the principle, in this instance, transparency. And everyone else is saying, well, we have transparency. It's just curated. Like, it's mostly transparent. Well, mostly transparent is not transparency at all. That is information control. That is central planning. That is big government. Transparency is just transparency. That's how it works. There's some small exceptions. They should be narrowly tailored. Other than that, that's where we are, and that's what we got to do. So you can call somebody names, but when somebody's standing on principle and you're on the wrong side of that until you're forced to be on the right side, I don't know if it says that much about Thomas Massie. It says a heck of a lot about those other Republican members who kind of decided they'd go along with Massie when it was unavoidable. We got to take a break. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Well, the FBI says the man who tried to assassinate President Trump acted alone. Investigators found no evidence of co-conspirators after reviewing hundreds of thousands of digital files and interviewing more than 1,000 people. The shooter, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, they say, fired 8 shots at that Pennsylvania rally in July, grazing Trump's ear, killing one spectator. The FBI has not identified a clear motive, but says the case will reopen if new leads emerge. President Trump met with New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani at the White House today. The two men very cordial in front of the cameras, speaking in the Oval Office alongside Mamdani. President Trump said his administration will help the new mayor for the sake of New York.
We talked about some things in very strong common, like housing and getting housing built and food and prices.
Mamdani?
I appreciated the meeting with the president, and as he said, it was a productive meeting focused on a place of shared admiration and love, which is New York City.
Aaron Katersky says Mamdani will want to work with Trump.
He's not blind to the idea that the two men do not see eye to eye on most things, but he said that 1 in 10 New Yorkers who voted for Trump in 2024 voted for him in 2025. And he went to the neighborhoods, Midwood, Queens, and Fordham Road in the Bronx, where he said that there was the highest concentration of those kinds of crossover voters. And he said they were concerned about the same things, affordability and cost of living.
Look out for bald eagles on your way to Thanksgiving in North Carolina. A North Carolina driver had a shocking encounter on US 74 when a bald eagle dropped a cat through her windshield. The impact shattered the glass, sent the animal through the car, even hitting the back window. The driver wasn't hurt, but the cat didn't survive. Wildlife experts say bald eagles can carry small prey, but incidents like this are extremely rare. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, Belshire got a crash on the right shoulder, Briley Parkway eastbound at 24 North. We've got 40 westbound at Fessler's Lane. Police say there's a crash. Rivergate, an earlier accident, 65 northbound approaching Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. And then over by the airport, got a crash 40 eastbound as you're approaching Briley Parkway East. I'm Ken Weaver.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. Genesis Diamonds is presenting the holiday love event of the year. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's right. This weekend, enjoy store-wide savings of 20, 30, or 35% off. Engagement rings, earrings, pendants, bands, bracelets. It's the biggest and final store-wide sale of the year. If you've lived here for a while, you probably know this is the event that everyone waits for. The holidays are upon us, right? And if you're looking for the home run gift that she'll talk about not just this year, but so many years to come, the time has come to get to Genesis Diamonds. Luxury pre-owned Rolexes are included in this incredible sale. Everything's on sale in the store and zero interest financing available on approved credit. The staff at Genesis knows they can break all the rules during this incredible 3-day, $30 million sales event. Exclusively at Genesis Diamonds, it's 3 days. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Green Hills and Cool Springs. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only Genesis Diamonds. Grace Point Healthcare is affordable, convenient, and comprehensive medicine at a direct pay primary care provider. Now, why is direct pay important to you? One, because you know exactly what your healthcare is costing you up front. You know, we've talked in the past, healthcare is weird because we don't really know what it costs. When we walk into our doctor's office, oftentimes, if you're using someone else, you just wonder what your copay is. Well, that's not the way to do it for a couple of reasons. Number one, you don't know what it's costing you. Number two, you're allowing the insurance company to insert themselves between you and your doctor, between you and those medical decisions that ought to be intimate between yourself and your physician, right? So with that in mind, Grace Point Healthcare is here for you. 599-6868. Modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. The old-fashioned way means that you make those decisions between you and your doctor. You can obviously file with your insurance company for reimbursement, and they have the Smart Care Plan, which is paid for by your HSA. So if you have a health savings account, $99 a month, you get unlimited office visits throughout the course of the year, $79 for the kids, and you don't have to worry about it. Plus, you get free basic labs and diagnostics as well. And you don't have to wait, which is the big selling point for me. I hate it when you call your doctor and they're like, oh, well, you can get in 2 weeks. I'm sick right now. At Grace Point, they don't believe in it. They don't believe in those wait times, so you can get same-day or next-day appointments at Grace Point. 599-6868. Modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way.
Welcome back. I'm Cameron Smith at D. Cameron Smith on the X Machine. I just posted a couple of the articles that I wrote over at the Tennessean. Y'all got to help me out on the one about the 7th Congressional District. I made the Democrats very mad because I pointed out that Afton Bain is running for mayor of Nashville as opposed to running to the center like a blue dog to try to win. And they did not like that. And Johnny Epstein, no relation to Jeff, I don't think, I don't know, wrote a piece where he basically said something, Matt Van Epp should disown Trump. So if both candidates decided to run a terrible campaign, that would be what Matt should do. But he's not. And I don't know about you guys, but I hate campaign ads right now. I mean, some of the ones that you hear, Afton Bain's a nice person. She's just a very progressive candidate that doesn't fit the district. That's all. She's not going to eat your babies. She's nice. She just has a lot of ideas that aren't great. And I think you guys need to make sure that those of you in the 7th Congressional show up, because she should lose by 20 points or more. If you do not show up, she's still going to lose, but it could be close. And I don't want anybody to have indigestion on December 2nd. So, think about that. It depends on whether you show up or not, because the progressive base is going to show up. There are not enough voters if just the progressive base shows up. I think it would have been a lot better for her if there had been other candidates that had won on the Republican side. But Van Epps is solid. I mean, he's even in sort of my vein of like low drama. Like, I think he doesn't really get into the hot takes, and I love that. He's served in the military, he's served the state of Tennessee, and he's kind of boring. And you know what? That's how I like my politics. I want to make politics boring again. I don't want to have to, like, every day look up and be like, who unilaterally did a thing that impacts my life? Stop it. Stop it. I don't want that, because I'm a conservative. That's how that works. Gary in Springfield has something about legal orders. What you got, Gary?
Well, thank you for letting me in to talk about this. It bothers me. I'm a Vietnam era veteran, but I also, and I was enlisted, and I retired as an officer in 1996.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you kindly. Thank you kindly. Now, here's the way it works. First off, there is a Uniform Code of Military Justice that handles every single violation of law that's both would pertain to civilian, but also specifically to military conduct. Okay?
Right.
So that you stay within the framework of that. So if anybody issues you an order that goes against anything in there that is punishable, then you're in trouble. You don't obey that. Now, when it comes
are you talking about an unlawful order?
Unlawful order.
Right.
So when it comes to war, let's say there's a hospital and it's clearly marked, or it's a hospital, you can't fire on it. But if the enemy fires from it, then you can return fire from where that fire is coming from.
Right.
You can't line up civilians and execute them. You can't summarily execute prisoners. There's a number of things on the Geneva Hague that pertain to what is legal versus illegal.
Right.
So that captain, Navy captain, that's an 06. That's not like an Army captain 03, and I've been an 03, infantry company commander. But that 06 is just like me as a retired officer. I'm subject to the UCMJ today. I could be called up and courts-martialed. He needs to be called up and courts-martialed. And the reason he needs to be is he and others are inciting mutiny. Mutiny. They couldn't even specify the illegal orders. They were insinuating.
Well, so let me try something, Gary. Let me run something by you. You tell me what you think.
Okay.
These folks are pretty smart, right? And they're not going to just run. And what you're talking about is the Democrats that came out and said encourage members of the military not to follow illegal orders. Correct?
That's right.
So the language that they used, I think, is, from what I can tell, I didn't listen to all of it, but from what I could tell, it's very consistent, even if you and I might say, well, what you're trying to do is telegraph folks to disobey lawful orders. But what they said was very specific, and it's a nothing burger, right? It is, you should not obey illegal orders. Well, I think, Gary, you would agree with that, right? You shouldn't obey illegal orders, right?
Right, except for this.
Except, okay.
Previous to them were two military officers that they handcuffed and were taken through a hallway there in D.C., who were specifically saying, basically, disobey Trump. The democracy is in danger in the whole 9 yards. So you take those two previous who are under arrest, and you take these congressmen their intent was to create in the minds of the military personnel, especially the enlisted, that you are now following the illegal orders of the commander-in-chief. That was their intent. Well, it's clever language.
But but that's my point, Gary, is, you and I can see that, and we may agree that that was their intent, but we're not going to be able to prove that because they're going to say, hey, look what we said, and that's our intent. And intent is something that lives in your head. And so unless they told people, hey, we're going to try to, and create an insurrection here, we're going to create a mutiny in the military, which I promise you, they did not write that down anywhere.
No, they didn't.
I don't think there's a lot to be done about it. I mean, I get it. I get the frustration, but I think they've been very, very careful in what they've said.
I guarantee if I was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, that 06 would be hauled in, and he would literally be put under what's called a 15-6 to demand the intent. And believe me, you can do that. He can be put on active duty, brought in. He can stand before I was on a courts martial board once, and I was on a 32 board as a recorder, which is like being a prosecutor. And what they can do, and boy, they have latitude, is force him by threat of losing his commission and everything, and don't even perjure yourself. Tell us the real intent if you want to say what's left.
Gary, I hear you. But let's say you bring him in and shake him down and say, you can't perjure yourself. Tell us your intent or else. And he says, well, my intent was what I said. Now what?
Yeah. Hey, you got it, but I know the truth. That's a despicable officer. You never said, first off, you don't even get involved in politics, reference the military using your rank.
Yeah.
He should have just stayed, I'm a congressman, and this is what, he used his rank.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Gary. Thank you for the call. I think Gary makes a great point. He shouldn't have done it. I'm just saying that when folks do this, they're careful. They're not just flapping their lips. They are, this is planned, this is filmed. Hey, how will this be received? What's the legal exposure? What are we going to do here? Right? And so I get it, but I'm also on the side of, because I've been sued for my expression that was factual and on video, I always support speech. I always do. I don't want to kill anybody because of it. I don't want to try and execute them. Trump has walked that back and said, well, not really. I think it's really important that folks can voice their political preferences. Now, you can't call for a mutiny, and there's a bunch of things. Speech is not unlimited. There are restrictions. But to just say, hey, I don't like this, I don't agree with this, yeah, okay. And to say things like, don't follow illegal orders, okay. That's like saying you must follow legal orders. Okay. I'm not upset about that. A couple topics that I want to get to when we come back. I see some callers on the line, and we can check in on you guys. Pam Bondi poised to charge Alejandro Mayorkas with treason. That's an interesting headline to talk through. The Ukraine deal, Lindsey Graham blocking the House passed provision that would said that senators can't sue the taxpayers for things Jack Smith did. We should talk about that. We got several other topics to talk about. And I want to talk about what you talk about. 615-737-9986 is where to call in. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
So, friends, it's that time of year, right? Where during the day, you're probably popping on that AC from time to time, but that night, maybe you're throwing the heat on. Well, one way or the other, if the season has caught you off guard, now's the time to get your winter maintenance done with Efficient Heating and Cooling. It's the best way to avoid costly repairs and breakdowns during the season. With Efficient, you'll get the best value around. You'll never pay more than $125 to service the units in your home, no matter how many you have. 2, 3, 4, doesn't matter. $125 is the max amount. Sometimes it's much less than that. The savings then stack up because your heating unit is running more efficiently. That means it saves you money on a monthly basis. And if you do find yourself in need of repair or to address a breakdown, Efficient does not charge overtime rates on the evenings or on the weekends. That's nice to know as well. They just don't believe in it. Efficient Heating and Cooling, 615-784-4424, 615-784-4424, or online at efficienthvac.net.
Well, the FBI says it has wrapped up its investigation into the attempt on President Trump's life at the rally in Pennsylvania. We'll tell you about that more coming up at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Welcome back. Kenny heard that Dan Mandis likes bubble baths. Kenny, I don't know where you heard that, man, or how close you are with Dan.
He heard that from Brother Dan Mandis.
Okay.
Brother Dan Mandis has talked frequently about liking a good bubble bath.
So I remember as a kid, Mr. Bubbles.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a cereal box that you poured out flakes, which I'm sure caused cancer. Like, absolutely must cause cancer. And now that I think about it, and you just kind of dump the flakes in with the water coming out of the faucet, and there you go.
Boom.
Bubble bath. And then at some point, I think my parents were like, y'all are dirty. And they graduated to like dish soap and stuff like that. Yeah. It's like whatever soap's around. My dad traveled as a businessman, so they just dump shampoo into the tub. But we did bubble baths too. They're fun. They're most fun if you have a jacuzzi, because then it makes it like erupt. It's like a bubble volcano, and that's pretty awesome. 0152 says, so I guess you're going to be one of those reasonable, thoughtful people who care about facts and reality. I'm not sure that will fly with the audience, Cameron. And he's a true raccoon fan there. 0152. I appreciate it. Kenny said, Mr. Bubble does look like he has a case of radiation poisoning. Yep, I think that's true. That is true. Several of y'all wanted to, comment on what Gary had to say. I'll go to Robert. Robert, what do you think?
I'll right off the bat, I voted for Trump 3 times.
Okay.
All 3 times. So I definitely don't have. I think he was the best option all 3 times.
Sure.
But Trump got played like a fiddle on this one. Come on, man. Well, if they'd have said don't eat yellow snow, would Trump got pissed off about that?
Which one are we talking about?
Military members to follow the law, to follow legal orders, don't follow illegal ones.
Right. Yeah.
And the guy that called Gary, man, well, you got to tell me that you was an 06 as an E6. I really don't care. I don't care what your rank was. The odds of me starting out or any point in a conversation telling you what my rank was to try to give me authority, dude, I don't care that you went to college. That's how you become an officer. That don't impress me. Enlisted people are plenty smart enough to know what a legal order is and what an illegal order is.
Yeah,
and we're not going to go to jail for nobody.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Robert. I think the in my world of lawyers, it's the folks who insist on putting Esquire after their name to just let you know they're a lawyer. I'm like, guys, I don't know if y'all know this, but people don't really like lawyers. I don't know why you would want to tell people automatically right up front that you are one. Let them like you first and then kind of unleash it on them. So I get it. Thank you, Robert. I really appreciate the call. I mean, guys, I think the deal here is not everything is a nail that needs to get whacked. And we got to stop that. I got 5 boys in my house, and I am trying to teach them that not everything needs to be war. It just doesn't. And I think in politics, we're so amped up about all this stuff that it's like, oh, man, did you hear? Those Democrats said don't follow illegal orders. They're calling for an insurrection. Well, okay, I hear you, but like what they actually said is don't follow illegal orders. That is a perfectly reasonable legal statement. Now, they may be trying to elicit a reaction. And you know what it is? The one you're giving them. They want you to see you go nuts over things like, well, they said don't follow illegal orders, but, they're wrong. No, they're not. It doesn't even mean anything. They're just saying something that you should do because it's very basic. And just because a Democrat said it doesn't mean we need to punch them. We can ignore them and just be like, okay, nice video you got there. But instead, Trump says something like trying folks for sedition and execute. I mean, come on. Really? Chill, bro. That's what my kids would tell me. And then they would get their phone taken away because they call me bro. But chill. Just relax. Like, it's okay. Think about it. Stop for a second and then realize you don't have to respond. Man, we've got hours and hours to go before this show's over, and we still got so many topics to cover. Hang in there. If you're on the phone, I'll try to get to you. This is the Matt Murphy Show. I'm Cameron Smith, and this is Super Talk 99.7.
Four o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Well, the FBI says the man who tried to kill President Trump in that Pennsylvania rally in July of 2024 acted alone. After reviewing hundreds of thousands of digital files and interviewing more than 1,000 people, investigators say they found no evidence of co-conspirators. The shooter, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, opened fire at that Pennsylvania rally in July of 2024, grazing Trump's ear and killing one spectator. While the motive remains unclear, the FBI says it will reopen the case if new leads surface. President Trump met with New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani today at the White House. The two men were very cordial in front of cameras. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers.
There was no contentious back and forth over their policy differences or any personal attacks when President Trump and New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani spoke in front of cameras Friday afternoon in the Oval Office. The president told reporters the meeting surprised him, and he said repeatedly how he was going to help Mamdani.
I think you're going to have hopefully a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am, I will say. There's no difference in party. There's no difference in anything. And we're going to be helping him.
Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Election 2025 here in Tennessee, 7th Congressional District special election, early voting underway. And Fox 17 says Democrat Afton Bain is getting backlash for an old podcast she hosted.
I've been heavily involved with the Nashville mayoral race because I hate the city, I hate the bachelorettes, I hate the pedal taverns, I hate country music, I hate all of the things that make Nashville apparently an it city to the rest of the country, but I hate it.
So that was from 2020. This is Bain responding to the backlash yesterday.
Now, I always want Nashville to be better, right? I want Nashville to be a place where working people can thrive, right? But sure, I get mad at the Bachelorette sometimes. I get mad at the pedal taverns, right? And you're talking to someone who has cried no less than 10 times in the Country Music Hall of Fame. The girl that just goes to the Ryman to hang out.
Meanwhile, Democrats are pouring money in to try to chip away at President Trump-backed Republican Matt Van Epps' lead by promoting John Thorpe, a self-proclaimed conservative independent. Now, despite the heavy spending, strategist Chip Saltzman predicts Van Epps will win, though by a tighter margin. He joked Republicans might need to, quote, have a couple of swigs of Pepto-Bismol on election night. And a CDC website update raising concerns about misinformation. The site now says the claim vaccines do not cause autism is not an evidence-based claim because studies have not ruled out the possibility that infant vaccines cause autism. The website used to state that studies have shown that there is no link between receiving vaccines and developing autism spectrum disorders. Now, major medical groups, including the American Academy of Pediatrics, are pushing back on the changes. Senior scholar at Johns Hopkins University, Dr. Amish Adulja, tells ABC News this new CD language is wrong and harmful.
This has led to cases of measles. This has led to deaths. This is really, really dangerous information that should not be on what was once the premier public health agency's website.
So scientists haven't proved a negative, but claim overwhelming evidence shows no association. And some say the CDC's new phrasing exploits this technicality. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Rivergate still looks like a crash being there in the way. 65 northbound approaching Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. Bellshire, a crash on the right shoulder. Briley Parkway eastbound at 24 north. Over on I-40 westbound, you got a crash still being reported there at Fessler's Lane. I'm Ken Weaver.
Welcome to the 4 o'clock hour of the Matt Murphy Show. I'm Cameron Smith, tickling your ears with all the best words. If you haven't listened to All the Best Words podcast that Matt and I do, you really should. Jackson, I learned this morning at a coffee that one of my buddies couldn't listen to it on Spotify for some reason. We probably should figure that out. But otherwise, go listen to it. All the best words. It's fun. It's lighthearted and full of whimsy. I just, that's a word. See, all the best ones. A couple things I wanted to sort of chime in on that y'all hit the Super Talk text line with 615-737-9986. One, a lot of y'all like bubble baths, so solidarity there. 1221 says, I too enjoy a good bubble bath, and I'm an old redneck. I will not be shamed by this. Much respect. I like that. That's good. That's good. I want to follow up a little bit. I know we shift topics. I see y'all on the line. Hang on just one more second. We shift topics pretty fast, and I appreciate you guys for keeping up. But a couple things I wanted to hit real quick. Marjorie Taylor Greene, do I think it's genuine? Yeah, too little, too late. When you fall out of favor and then you decide, I'm going to turn and burn, that's not the right time, right? And I think that hurts her politically. I think she's going to get primaried, and I think it'll be tough. One of my radio buddies over that way, who's on the air in Chattanooga, actually lives in her district in Georgia, and is thinking about himself. So if you've heard of Michael Yaffe, yeah, he's the guy. Nevertheless, I think she's cooked. Cooked is probably too far. She's in trouble. And I think what I've seen from folks who have stood up to Trump in the Republican Party and lived is that they didn't do it personally. They weren't anti-Trump. They just disagreed with him on a principled position and didn't surrender any ground. I don't think Thomas Massey's going anywhere. I think his district actually worked for his predecessor, Jeff Davis. And in that district, I think he is well liked. He is seen as he's really a principled libertarian, but libertarian conservative. And he's not hating Trump. He is, hey, I just disagree with you on this thing. I think it's a matter of transparency, and I don't care if billionaires get embarrassed. And, 80% of America agrees with him. So I think that's the difference. It's what we'll see here. It's how I think that'll pan out in the upcoming elections. And I think Green probably in trouble. Massey, I think he'll have a race, but I think he'll do well. Let's see, Eric on the Epstein files. What you got, Eric?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on.
No problem.
My question, frankly, for all of the senators, congressmen, regardless of which party they're for, beating their chests about transparency and justice for the victims. I'd really like to know where they all were a few years ago, because during Trump's first term, he instituted DNA test requirements for family units crossing the border to try and stop sex trafficking.
Okay.
And I never heard a word from anyone in Congress when Biden repealed those requirements for those DNA tests. So I'll go ahead and hang up and listen to yours.
Thank you. I didn't know those were required. With family units crossing, I don't think it's a bad idea, especially if you have a paucity. There you go, Ken. There's another good word. Paucity of information. You don't have much information. That might be helpful to see if, hey, these young people are not being smuggled because these people with them are their parents. So I like that idea. I didn't know that was a requirement. I didn't know that Biden had allegedly repealed that, so I'll have to look into that. The one does not necessitate the other. I mean, let's presuppose that we are talking about DNA testing of family units at the border. We can have that conversation. What does that have to do with transparency about the Epstein files? It doesn't. Literally nothing at all. Those are two separate issues. And so this is something that drives me insane, which is if you're upset about one thing, you must be upset about all things. No, you can distinguish the two. You can say, hey, I get it. I understand that, Biden did some things I didn't like. Biden did a lot of things I didn't like. But this is something I don't like either. All right. Joe wants to talk about Jack Smith. What you got, Joe?
Hey, how you doing today?
Howdy.
Hey, in reference to Jack Smith, the judge that handled his documents case, right?
Mm-hmm.
She appeared to me to be somebody, she's a new judge, and I think whether Trump would have been convicted or not, she wanted the case to be done very well.
Sure.
And not appealed. So when she came out, she said, look, we're going to dismiss this case because of what the Constitution says, unless Congress passes a law, you confirm him, or you put another person from the DOJ to prosecute the case. So to me, the person getting over on all this is really Merrick Garland, because he knew when he appointed him that, he's being paid by the Treasury. So when she said that, they didn't replace him. Why didn't they replace him? Because it was just simply so Trump wouldn't be elected. So I think no one should be surprised at what Jack Smith did, because he had a history of doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think, look, prosecutors can get out of control pretty quickly. And I understand the tenacity. I want law enforcement to enforce the law. But when they start kind of getting wild and getting creative, doing things they probably shouldn't do, that's where I draw the line. And that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like Merrick, put himself, he figured, hey, this won't come back on me. So, but, and real quick on the thing with the orders I wanted to hit. I was in the military for 22 years.
Well,
so
thank you.
The thing, oh, you're welcome. The thing that's irresponsible about what the senator did, especially the one that had been in the military before, was, and I'll give you a quick, just an example. Say I'm an NCO. I'm running around and I'm telling younger soldiers, they hear me complaining about this captain.
Sure.
And then after that, they hear me go around and say, I don't want you following any unlawful orders. And then I leave. And that captain that comes in and he starts barking orders, I guarantee you there's going to be one or two of those young soldiers that get themselves in trouble because they're going to question those orders and stuff. And Trump got played because he overreacted, but it was very irresponsible for those senators to do that, because I believe they knew what they were doing.
Oh, they were playing for the reaction. That's what they wanted. And Trump did the thing they wanted. I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you, being in the military, there's no reason to worry, because I can guarantee you all the leaders went and briefed their soldiers and told them, hey, don't react to any of this stuff because you'll get yourself in trouble.
Hey, and that's good leadership.
So
I respect that.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the call, Joe.
Yep. You have a good, happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Yeah, I mean, this is how you play into. Democrats don't have anything right now. And I know you don't like it, but it's true. If you look at it from a policy standpoint, right now, the Republicans in Congress and the Trump administration are adopting a 90s Democratic platform. Now, what does that do? It takes away the Democratic lane. So either they can be socialists, which in America outside of New York is still not very popular, or they can be sort of maybe like a business-friendly Republican, which makes them kind of throw up in their mouths. So they just don't have anywhere to go. They don't have, and then they can, they want to be the civil discourse adult in the room, but that just sounds like they're condescending to the American people. So that's not a winner either. So basically, Democrats have decided we need to do things to flush out Trump and Republicans and the silliness that they'll get themselves involved in. So that's the game, right? It is make them say silly things that we can use to run campaign ads. Oh, see, we said don't follow illegal orders and Trump wants to kill us. See, look, that's insane. I'm looking at this online rumblings. AG Pam Bondi is reportedly poised to charge Alejandro Mayorkas with treason for deliberately allowing 20 million illegals to flood our nation. Guys, that's freaking nuts. That's insane. When you know what the penalty is for being bad at your job in politics, you lose your job. Somebody else votes you out. The idea that that's treasonous, I get it. It's a fun political thing, but legally speaking, no, it's dumb. You'll get laughed out of a courtroom if you did something like that. And if our AG is seriously considering that, she's made a number of I don't have a better word other than dunderheaded. That's the best one I can come up with. Statements of law for the nation's highest law enforcement individual. I mean, some of the stuff around hate speech and different things like that. It's really just been frustrating. I don't understand why she struggles so mightily to just enforce the law. I mean, the best thing that the Trump administration is doing, bar none, it is by far the best, is enforcing the immigration laws. That they exist on the books. That's it. And that's the kind of thing that if DOJ does well, this is an 80% issue that most Americans are like, yeah, we should enforce our laws. When we start getting into weird legal theories and stretching things to punish political people we don't like, that is weird, and we should not do that. What we do need to do is take a break. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
It seems like yesterday I was telling you that, Halloween's coming up and yada, yada, yada. Now Thanksgiving's almost here, and with Thanksgiving comes Black Friday. Well, for the last few weeks, you've heard us talking about booking your holiday parties at the Glock Store, and now I'm inviting you to one. This year at Glock Store, they're going to blow the doors off of Black Friday. I'm telling you, folks, you need to put them on the list for any and all of the gun enthusiasts in your life. Whoever they may be, you can find everything that you want right there at the Glock Store. Doors open at 9 a.m., and the details are coming together, and they're huge. Discounts on just about everything in the store, including Glocks, the latest and greatest performance products, obviously accessories, magazines, and the like, plus some really great food trucks. And as always, there'll be giveaways. At the Glock Store, I have no doubt that they'll have more than a few great giveaways to offer you, valuable products that you can win just by being there. And you might be the first person that to get your hands on the all-new Glock V model handguns. Anyone who's ever been to the Glock Store knows it's simply the best gun store in the city of Nashville or in the state of Tennessee, in my estimation. And it's Black Friday. Their one and only sale for Black Friday happens right after Thanksgiving. The Glock Store, minutes away from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere. Tell them I sent you to the one and only Glock Store.
Well, the FBI says it has closed its investigation into the Trump rally shooting. We'll tell you what they say coming up at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Welcome back. I'm Cameron Smith. Go check out some of the stuff that I've been tweeting at you guys at DCameronSmith. Let me know what I get right, what I get wrong. I joke with Matt about this sometimes, but we are, in fact, real people, not just, disassociated voices and computer typing. So we like to talk to you guys. We like the feedback, and it's fun when you tweet at us and when you have thoughts, because it very much fills in what we need to do. Several of y'all have just on the Super Talk text line, 615-737-9986, told me that you're just not interested. You're not excited about the 7th congressional race. Okay. Go vote anyway. I think this idea that we have to be like motivated by exciting candidates. When you get to know a lot of these folks, one, a lot of them are dorks. Some of them that aren't dorks are dangerous. They're just people, right? The thing that I look for on somebody is that, one, this isn't the best job they've ever had. If it's the best job that they've ever had, you can dang well bet that they're going to do what they need to do to keep the job. What I want somebody is that's going to represent me and that has a head on their shoulders and can make a decision. And I want somebody that's able to disagree with me. Explain it, not all the time, but I think that's what I want in a leader. It's a big deal. Dave in Columbia has some thoughts on Trump.
Hey, well,
what do you got, Dave?
That, though, hey, Cameron, how you doing, man?
Good.
Hey, if people in the 7th aren't excited about voting, they better get excited.
Yeah.
I mean, Afton Bailey, she's cute as a button, but you don't want that.
Yeah, but that button says socialism, Right. It's like, don't not that one. And
right.
Which is, you can, and it's, some of y'all have said, she tells the truth. Yeah. But she's wrong about that truth. Like,
Right.
You can be a nice person, tell the truth. You can be someone I like. I like Afton Bain. I don't want any harm to come of her. I do not want her to be a member of Congress. Like, that's the truth.
Goodness.
That's just kind of where it is. And so, yeah, find your motivation.
But hey, on this Trump thing, I think a lot look. I'm not at all shocked at anything Trump says. Now, I do think that these Democrats, what was it, guy from Arizona, Kelly, and the rest of them, what they're doing, they didn't come out and say, yeah, you're right. They're going to look at it word for word what they're saying. They're not going to get themselves into trouble. But basically, they're planting a seed.
Yeah, they are.
They're saying, oh, hey, don't follow any illegal orders, as if implying that there are illegal orders. And it's creating, or has a potential, I guess, within some segments of our armed forces to create dissent. I think that is dangerous. Now, I'm not alarmed at all at what the president comes out and says. We know he's going to take an extreme stance and come out and say something outrageous. Yeah. I don't think it hurts him. I don't really think it hurts. Everybody just needs to calm down a little bit.
Amen to that.
Donald Trump is going to do what Donald Trump does. And he's kind of he's a braggart, very opinionated, comes out. But at the core, he's a reasonable dude. He doesn't come out with there's a difference between the Donald Trump who's trying to get attention and saying something and the Donald Trump who's actually governing.
Yeah, but the Democrats are going to try to, here's what's going to happen. In the midterms, not this special in the 7th, but in the midterms, Trump's not going to be on the ballot. And what Democrats want to do, this is part of it, is they're going to take things, the outrageous things that Trump says, and with you and I, we're just like, whatever, that's just weird. But with swing voters in states that matter, they look at that and they're like, good grief.
But But here's my question: do you think that it actually? I think most voters kind of look at Donald Trump as a standalone thing.
They do.
Right?
I think that's fair. Yeah.
And I don't think it really sways one way or the other. I think that now, in response to this, I think what Republicans should do is come out and say, look, all right, here's what they said, here's why they're saying it. But I don't know. I don't think it to independent voters, and I'm conservative, but I consider myself an independent voter. If there was ever a somewhat conservative Democrat that I liked, I'd probably vote for him if I didn't like the Republican. But I don't know if it has that big of a deal.
Yeah,
but I could be wrong.
agree. I agree with you in that it's not that big of a deal. The bigger deal for me is something like, food prices, tariffs,
right.
like that affordability. That's what the swing voter is going to be like. Look, we gave you a shot. You didn't get it. We're going to give Democrats a chance to kind of bounce you on some of this stuff. And that's what I worry about.
And I am disappointed. We throughout that presidential election, it was drill, baby drill. That's become kind of and honestly, in my opinion, that drives a lot of the price. If we want prices to fall, we got to start with energy.
Cheaper energy. Amen. Energy Absolutely.
Down. But I haven't seen it's all been tariffs and everything else. Where is that part of it? When am I going to see that? Because that's when you'll start to see actual results when you go to the grocery store.
Well, I mean, right now it ain't there, and this is the big concern I have is. The market's been rocky the last few days. I'm worried about the stock market heading in the wrong direction, inflation kind of ticking the other way, Congress not being able to rein in spending, tariffs raising prices. I mean, there's a lot of things that could go wrong here at the end of the year, and Trump's got to act. He's been good about that, but he's got to do it, and he's started to. I mean, he rolled back some of the tariffs, but it's like now you're conceding that the thing you did raised prices, and you're unraising prices. You're going to get hung with that politically. Like, that's what Democrats will do.
Right. Well, hey, man, thanks for taking my call.
Appreciate it, Dave. We got to take a break. We're running on Ken time. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Election 2026 in Tennessee. Gary Humble has dropped out of the race for Tennessee's Senate District 27 seat. Humble, founder of Tennessee Stands, had planned a rematch against Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson after losing by fewer than 800 votes in 2022. Humble cited personal transitions and frustration with what he called a corrupt political environment. Humble's exit in speculation about that high-profile challenge to one of the state's most powerful lawmakers. The FBI says it's closed its investigation into the Trump rally shooting in Pennsylvania, saying the gunman acted alone. Agents say they reviewed hundreds of thousands of digital files and interviewed more than 1,000 people, finding no evidence of co-conspirators. 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks fired 8 shots at that Pennsylvania rally in July of 2024, grazing Trump's ear and killing a spectator. The motive remains unclear, but the FBI says it will reopen the case if new leads come in. President Trump and New York City's mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani emerged from a roughly 25-minute closed-door talk where both said they agreed on a lot, with smiles, handshakes, and a pledge to work together on affordability for the more than 8.5 million people who live in the 5 boroughs. Mr. Trump offered praise for the 34-year-old incoming mayor and says he's often called communist.
I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually. And some very liberal people he won't surprise them because they already like him.
Mamdani?
I am really looking forward to delivering for New Yorkers in partnership with the president on the affordability agenda.
Yeah, here in Nashville, Channel 4 says NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell saw progress on the new Titan Stadium today. He got a tour. And then he said Nashville's ready to host a Super Bowl.
This is a Super Bowl-ready city. The one thing that's missing is the stage. And I think now you're building a great stage. We have a process, but I have every expectation that you're going to see that type of thing in the future.
So the next 3 Super Bowls are set. San Francisco 26, Los Angeles 27, Atlanta 28. The new Titan Stadium is slated to be finished in 27. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. So an earlier crash is still causing a slowdown 65 northbound as you're approaching Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. In Sumner County, Hendersonville got some police activity blocking the left lane of Vietnam Veterans Boulevard eastbound approaching New Shackle Island Road. Still showing a crash 40 westbound at Fessler's Lane. I'm Ken Weaver.
Hey, folks, Matt Murphy, Alpha and Omega on my mind. So 70% of cyber attacks happen to small to medium-sized businesses, right? I just talked to Mark. He's a small to medium-sized business. I'm talking to Savory Spice. They're a small to medium-sized business. Bottom line is this. If you're a business owner and you don't have adequate cybersecurity, you're at risk. I'm sorry to say, because they're coming after you. They do it through ransomware attacks. They do it through attacking your cyber network and gleaning information from you, and then they sell it off to the highest bidder, or they hold you ransom against that information. That's bad news, right? If you don't have the proper IT company that's protecting you, you could be at risk. Let's not risk that. Let's get to Alpha and Omega. Michael and his team, incredible at what they do. And everything that they do is located right here in Middle Tennessee, which I absolutely love. So if you make a call to Alpha and Omega, you're talking to somebody in Middle Tennessee. You're not talking to somebody in another state, and you're certainly not talking to somebody in another country, and you're certainly not talking to some AI bot, which is sadly what a lot of these companies do nowadays. Average response time to a ticket is what they call it, is 4 minutes. That's jiffy quick. Give them a call today and ask them how they can service your company with an IT contract through Alpha and Omega. 615-784-0096. 615-784-0096 or ANO.net. That's A&O.net. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy for King and Associates Insurance. You know, your home and your automobile are two of your biggest investments. You need to protect those investments with King and Associates. It's as simple as this. They protect both with coverage that fits your life and fits your budget. Whether you're a first-time homeowner, a growing family, or you're just shopping for better auto rates, make it simple. No pushy salespeople, just honest advice, personalized service, and policies that actually make sense. They're local, they're independent, and they work for you, not the big insurance companies. Visit tkinginsurance.com or call 329-8121. That's 329-8121. Home and auto, a free quote to give you peace of mind. King and Associates Insurance. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you. tkinginsurance.com. They protect what matters most.
Welcome back. I'm Cameron Smith, filling in for Matt Murphy. I see a couple of y'all on the line, and I'll get to you momentarily. Sherry said, I can't believe yourself that you're saying that the drilling's not there. Biden ended that, and it takes time to get it back up and running, and we have started that getting back up and running since day one. Not to mention the fact that he just signed leases in Alaska and the Gulf of America. Okay. My point is, year over year, gas prices are down. Okay? And I'm looking at the month of October. It was $3.26 in 2024, and it was $3.19. So 7 cents. So I don't think it's just gas prices, though. It's energy writ large. It's electricity. It's all of that. Like trying to reduce the costs there. And what people sometimes miss is an oil company is going to extract oil, but the oil company is not incentivized to extract it all as quickly as possible. They're looking at the market and they're trying to get the highest price they can get for what they extract. And so it's a commodity that, for example, the oil cartels like OPEC decides we're going to put this much on the market and that will drop prices. We're going to cut back. That will raise prices. They are doing basically price controls. So, yeah, the more we can supply ourselves, and there's this little hiccup here, getting crude out of the ground is one thing. Refining it into gasoline is another. And refining capacity, bottlenecks, it's not easy and it's really expensive. So there's a lot of factors here, and I think Sherry's right. I don't want to suggest that we're not doing anything, but it's not as if the U.S. government drills for oil. The U.S. government has land that allows private companies to drill for oil. So just because we open up more does not necessarily mean they're necessarily just dumping supply onto the international market to drop prices. It is down. It's just not down tremendously. Now, what's wild, if you look back to October of 2020, the price per gallon, this is when Trump left office, the price per gallon was $2.25. $2.25 in 2020. It is $3.19 right now. So in 5 years, that's pretty substantial. And that's down. The high was in 2022. I should say the recent high, 2022 in October, $3.94. So, yeah, we're making some headway, but energy touches everything. It is a big deal. 4666 says electric is going up because of AI centers. That's fair. A lot of those actually have their own, combined cycle, natural gas generators, other things like that. Special deals with the electrical company that aren't sort of pulling from some of the existing resources. But yeah, it is massive demand. So we need to build massive supply. And you know what the quickest way to build massive supply is? Nuclear. You can build a lot of natural gas combined cycle generators. That's true. They're cheaper, they're easier, but what nuclear can create quickly is a ton of power that runs all the time. And I am a huge fan of nuclear, and I think we should get out of the way of development and come up with better designs that aren't from the 70s. That would be super neat. I'm a huge fan of that. I did take note over the break. I heard Ken Weaver's announcement that Gary Humble has dropped out of the Senate race. He was taking another run at State Senator Jack Johnson, and he has pulled out he said in his statement, "My life is in a season of significant transitions that are both good and necessary. I have business opportunities in front of me that demand my attention. My family needs me. And at the same time, my team and I have been working through some very important next steps at Tennessee Stands." Are we saying that this is nincompoop? Is that what you're doing there, Jackson?
Maybe.
Okay.
Ken, what do you think? Final judgment.
I just did the news, boys.
Okay. Then we'll get there. But the yeah. So, made a big deal. Flash in the pan, decides not to run. Man, I would love to see the polling data he got. Because my guess is it was not favorable. But Tennessee Stands was on the wrong side of the 7th Congressional, or whether it's Tennessee Stands, Gary Humble, same thing, right? He is very clearly, if you go look at their website, it's his thing. Wrong side of the 7th Congressional District Republican primary backed Jody Barrett to no avail. Matt Van Epps cleared that field extremely efficiently. Gary lost to Jack Johnson. And we keep doing this thing where it's, well, money and power and other things are reasons why, the true conservatives don't do the thing. No. People vote, and that's how we know what they want. It's very, very simple. So I wish Gary well in his future endeavors and business opportunities. But it's kind of become the Republican purity thing of, well, Bill Lee said the doors are open to businesses that aren't socialist. Well, yeah, that seems like a good idea to me. Hated school choice. I think it's a great idea. I mean, just kind of on the wrong side of the policies, and then the answer is, well, they're all establishment. We are real conservatives, and they're not. Well, when you look at the vote count, like maybe you're just in a small minority that's kind of loud. And I think Republicans have to have that conversation, and sometimes you lose. That happens. I've lost on several fronts because I'll take the tariffs are a great example. I've hollered about tariffs being bad policy since Trump started using them. They've been policy. Now they're getting rolled back. So it's always good to be principled. It's always good to run with that. But it is certainly politically relevant. And, like I said, Jack Johnson was jonesing for a rematch, but he will not get it from Gary Humble. Looking at some of the other issues that are out there that we need to discuss today, Ukraine deal. It's coming back. I'm tired of doing this thing and like slinging it around again and again. This is whoa. 2133 says bad take. I don't know what it's a bad take about somebody issuing a statement that they've withdrawn from the race and factually pointing out that they've been on the wrong side of multiple issues. Like, that's a fact. That's not and by the wrong side, I mean the less popular side in Republican land. I actually would agree with Gary Humble that our political system isn't healthy, but I don't think it's not healthy because we have these conservative gatekeepers, right? That say, we or I stand for the true conservatism. And you don't. Okay. That's weird, but whatever. So how I know this is because I've worked with different groups. I've been a part of different sort of political think tank circles, and I've seen it time and time again. This isn't going well. The real problem is that we're not conservative, and if we could just be more conservative, then we would win more and change America. Okay, like that sounds reasonable. I have a new organization that I would like to start, and it's called People in Politics Decent at Math. And the game here is to be as conservative as possible and count to a majority. Because what happens is you get a small cohort of Republicans upset that not everybody is like them, and they're willing to shoot things in the foot. Like, set things on fire until they get what they want. Well, that works if you have a majority. And it's very fair to look in Congress and say there's not enough conservatives in Congress. But given that reality, we should try to do the most conservative things we can: limited government, free markets, individual responsibility, rule of law, that kind of thing. We should do that to the maximum level given the reality of the folks that we've got in Congress. And when you start to be the kind of person that takes pot shots at, I don't know, Governor Lee, criticize Governor Lee all you want. I in full disclosure, I worked for him on his transition. I think he's a very good governor. He's not a super political guy. But if you want to criticize him on the issues, criticize him on the issues. If we're going to play this game of you're not good enough because you're not pure enough, that is weird. I don't have any problem with Lee saying, hey, our doors in Tennessee are open to New Yorkers who don't like the political shift in New York. Those people who would come here are not socialist. The socialists up there will love it. They're like, oh, finally, we got it. We're in control now. The businesses who are like, I am about to get taxed out of my gourd, I'm cool with them coming here. I am. And I think the proof's in the pudding, because we've been doing this purity thing for a while now. Like the Tea Party came in and we kind of were into this. But like, tell me how spending's gone. Even under Trump, how's spending gone? How has government regulation gone? Is it less or is it more? And I think you know the answer. I mean, tariffs alone, it's a whole new regulatory paradigm, a brand new one. That's more government. Sorry, guys. And so we need to be pragmatists if we want to rein in government. And I think if we want to argue about policy, let's argue about it. And then the votes will sort out where they may. If you don't like school choice, if you don't like parents having access to public resources to educate their child as they see fit, okay, we'll have a vote. And that vote said a lot of Republicans like that. That's how we do this. It's okay. There's nothing crazy about it. We got to take a break. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
Matt Murphy, obviously we've been talking about the holidays with Thanksgiving around the corner and Christmas right behind it. It means Christmas parties and get-togethers and eating, sure. I mean, there's a lot of food that goes down during the holidays. Family outings, corporate parties, company parties, and the like. What if I told you that you could make an appointment with Contours LLC, and without any downtime, without any pain, without any complications, you could lose 2+ inches on your first appointment in your midsection with Contours? It is a fact. I lost 2.5 inches in my midsection, first appointment. $99 special. Plus, ask them about the Murph. The Murph is a wonderful package where you're going to get maintenance just let Keith and Stephanie tell you all about the package, because if you sign up for 6 visits, you're going to get maintenance at a low rate of cost. Just ask them about the Murph when you call or make the appointment today. Plus, don't forget, $99 Belly Buster special. Fat loss with no incisions, no downtime, no pain, no complications through red light technology that reduces body fat naturally. This works. I know it sounds too good to be true, but it is not. ContoursLLC.com. Make the call that so many others have made. I've lost the weight. You can too. Contours LLC. 615-236-9960. 236-9960 for Contours. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy for Safe House. You know, Nashville Safe House has rebates galore. Well, I mean, Browning's got some rebates, and they got some rebates, and there's other rebates, and you never pay sales tax on a gun safe at Nashville Safe House, and all of that adds up to huge savings during the holidays. So let's talk about that $400 rebate from now until the end of the year with the Browning safe. And Browning has some of the best fire ratings in the industry. If you know anything about gun safes, know and love Browning. You can also find Liberty. You can also find Rhino. You can also find Fort Knox is another brand name that people know and love. And they're all found at Nashville Safe House. Now, I would tell you to go see Mark, but the real straw that stirs the drink over there is Jill and her team behind the glass. Go see these guys and tell them that I sent you to Nashville Safe House. The lobby's beautiful. You see Donald Trump there on the left. You see Matt Murphy's special on the right. And you go through those lobby doors. You walk through into the showroom, and you'll see more safes than you can. I mean, vault doors and safes and tornado shelters all there waiting for you in the big time showroom / warehouse. Plus, that's just about a third of what they have in total. They got more safes than any place in the United States of America, and I stake my reputation on it. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com. They've got something for you, and they'll allow one of their professional delivery crews to deliver it to you right across the street from City Cemetery on 4th Avenue South. Stop by, say hello. Online, NashvilleSafeHouse.com.
Well, speculation has ended about a high-profile challenge to one of Tennessee's most powerful lawmakers. We'll tell you about it coming up at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I kind of wanted to just let out a woohoo right there, like a big one, but I just decided against it. I think it's that would have been excessive. So I'm looking through the Super Talk text line. Got some interesting ones. 6045 says education freedom as it exists in Tennessee is unconstitutional. Okay. Let's see. Pass a federal 8878 says pass a federal law. No politician can make any more a year than the lowest paid person in the district they represent. No one would serve in Congress because they would make like $7 an hour. $8. What's minimum wage? $7.25. So yeah, that I don't think that's going to work. I would be fine with tying their compensation to the amount that they increase the debt Congress over Congress. So, you know, if you vote for measures that increase the debt, then we reduce your pay. That would be a good incentive. 2133 said, I guess Jack Johnson, like Lee, is a simp for establishment interests. Okay. I don't know. Like, you got to tell me what those are, right? Give me some specifics. Like, what's the thing that Jack Johnson has done that's unforgivable? What's the thing that Lee's done? Like, you want to throw around words like rhino and establishment. Okay, fine. But tell me what you mean. Like, what is the thing they've done that's super bad that we have to be like, nope, toss them out, get rid of them? Because otherwise, we're just punching people to punch people. I want to know. If we need to get after them, let's get after them. But tell me what the policies are, because that's kind of their job, that they did that we can't work with them. And then, we'll figure it out. We got to take a break. We got 2 more hours to go. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
5 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Gary Humble ending his bid to challenge State Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson in 2026. Humble, who founded the conservative group Tennessee Stands, came within 786 votes of defeating Johnson in the 2022 Republican primary. He says personal changes and frustration with what he calls a corrupt political system led to his decision. Humble's withdrawal clears the way for Johnson to seek re-election without a major primary opponent. Election 2025, 7th Congressional District Special Election Update. Democrat Afton Bain responding to backlash over this segment of a podcast she hosted years ago.
I've been heavily involved with the Nashville mayoral race because I hate the city, I hate the bachelorettes, I hate the pedal taverns, I hate country music, I hate all of the things that make Nashville apparently an it city to the rest of the country, but I hate it.
Well, her critics putting it all over social media. Bain taken to social media yesterday to respond.
Now, I always want Nashville to be better, right? I want Nashville to be a place where working people can thrive, right? But sure, I get mad at the Bachelorette sometimes. I get mad at the pedal taverns, right? And you're talking to someone who has cried no less than 10 times in the Country Music Hall of Fame. The girl that just goes to the Ryman to hang out.
Bain saying she does not hate Nashville. The Associated Press reports Democratic-backed super PACs are trying to weaken Trump-endorsed Republican Matt Van Epps by backing John Thorpe, a self-proclaimed conservative independent. Despite the spending spree, strategist Chip Saltzman says Van Epps is still favored, though Republicans might need, quote, a couple of swigs of Pepto-Bismol on election night, which is December 2nd. Right now in the Oval Office, no contentious back and forth over their policy differences or any personal attacks when President Trump and New York Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani spoke in front of cameras this afternoon. Here's ABC White House correspondent Karen Travers.
President Trump threatened to withhold federal funding for New York City if Zohran Mamdani was elected. Asked about that today after they met in the Oval Office, the president said he doesn't want what he called good money going after bad policies, but said he didn't think the funding cut was going to happen.
He wants to see no crime. He wants to see housing being built. He wants to see rents coming down, all things that I agree with. Now, we may disagree how we get there.
The president said repeatedly how he was going to help Mamdani, saying they both want the city they love, New York, to do very well. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
The government's rewarding the air traffic controllers who stayed on the job during the shutdown.
Out of more than 20,000 air traffic controllers across the country, only 776 of them didn't miss a single day of work during the recent government shutdown. And now those 776 will be getting $10,000 bonuses. The FAA making the announcement after lifting the flight restrictions that were put in place during the shutdown because so many controllers called out sick. Working without a paycheck for more than a month, many of those controllers took on second jobs or simply stayed home because they couldn't afford childcare. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Got a crash blocking the right lane, 40 eastbound at Charlotte Avenue over here on the South Loop. Rivergate, still experiencing some slowdown from an earlier accident. 65 northbound approaching Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. Still showing a crash, 40 westbound at Fessler's Lane. Then in Murfreesboro, a crash, 24 westbound approaching Joe B. Jackson Parkway. Bellshire, a crash, right shoulder block, Briley Parkway eastbound at I-24. I'm Ken Weaver.
Welcome back to the Matt Murphy Show. We've got 2 hours of fun for everyone. We'll try to keep it family friendly. I don't know. It's Friday. Some of you are getting unruly. I can tell that on the Super Talk text line, 615-737-9986. 5654 says, how much are public servants supposed to get paid? I think it depends on the job. I also think the idea of having public servants, let's be real clear. Let's just talk about members of Congress. Having them bare bones, unable to make ends meet, takes a whole swath of folks off the table. Because anybody that makes more than the amount that you pay them has to make a very strong decision of, do I want to take resources off the table for my family to go serve in Congress? Or do I want to do this because it's just the right thing to do? And so if the idea is we're just going to pay them less and less, we can't pay them, then you're going to get what you pay for. And you're not going to like it. I can tell you, because I'm not saying all the time. There's some folks that have a lot of money and made a lot of money who are not that smart and capable. But what I know about a lot of folks that have found some success in business, generally speaking, they have done some things that the market appreciated and liked and was willing to give money to them for the thing that they were involved with. So it shows me some kind of competency, some sort of ambition, some sort of initiative, some sort of creative thinking. I'm not saying that a richer member of Congress is better than a poorer, by comparison, member of Congress, but there's a threshold at which I'm willing to say, you got to show me something. You got to show me that you've earned some success in your career for me to consider voting for you for office. It's not a mean thing. I want to know what's the reason I should stand shoulder to shoulder with you. And if this is the best job you've ever had, it very, very much concerns me. So 615-737-9986. Let me know what's going on. Call in. Larry has been extremely patient. He wants to talk Comey. Larry, talk to me.
Hi. Hey, Cameron. Thanks for taking my call. And first of all, I hope you and the boys enjoy the Plinkster you were gifted.
Oh, yeah, we do. We've had a great time. Thank you, Larry.
You're very welcome, sir. On the last couple of calls about, I'm going to watch my tongue.
Okay.
These politicians that came out trying to advise the military not to follow orders.
Illegal orders is what they said.
Right, but
No, I don't want to see them put in front of a firing squad, but I do think there needs to be an investigation on this, and a true investigation, because and we have seen it so many times, like Fort Hood, all these other instances where.
But what are we investigating if they've said something like you shouldn't follow illegal orders? What is the violation there?
Because I think it is their intent.
But how are you going to prove that? Because you see what I'm saying?
Well, we can agree to disagree. I just
no, I'm not trying to disagree. I'm just saying, okay, I hear you on intent, right? I understand that, but how all they've got in the world is what they said, and you're saying we need to investigate and by extension maybe prosecute, but how would we prove that intent? Like, how would we show what they really meant?
Hopefully that's what the investigation would prove out to be, but
okay.
that's beside the point. That's not why I called.
Okay.
To get to Comey. The deal with Comey. So because this prosecutor that was hired to prosecute this criminal case had never tried a criminal case, and she may or may not have just screwed it up from the beginning, and if he gets off by some legal crap from some judge, does that mean he qualifies for double indemnity? Does that mean he just walks away free, or can he still be held accountable?
Well, if they don't try the case, there's no double jeopardy. But what it looks like is there may have been a defect in how they took the issue to a grand jury. And it's just, right now, as best I can tell, it looks pretty embarrassing that they can't really decide like whether the grand jury did see the final indictment or whether they didn't. U.S. Attorney Tyler Lemons, evidently in court on Wednesday, said that the full grand jury did not see the final indictment. And that was really confusing to the judge. And so,
but then I heard today on this station that the full grand jury did actually hear all of the information, and then that whatever has been filed.
Yes, now they've changed that. They've flipped it, but it's just a mess.
So I said double indemnity. Double jeopardy is what I meant. But
sure.
If this one goes away, he could still be held accountable.
Yeah, I mean, just because the judge says, "Hey, there's a defect in this indictment, and you got to come back. You got to come back with a new indictment." It's just embarrassing for the prosecution. What I'm a little concerned about in this case is, do you have enough to really not just get? It's easy to get a indictment and get it through a grand jury. I should say easy. It's easier. But to prove it up and show that, we're getting Comey, and this isn't just Trump saying, "Hey, go after him," and then the U.S. Department of Justice saying, "Okay." I think that there's a case there. It looks like there's a case there, but it looks sloppy, So, we'll see. I don't think Comey's off the hook, but this is just sloppy stuff.
Well, and that's like I said, you're the attorney. I'm not. I was just married to one that I regret that I married. But
that happens,
well, yeah, sadly, and you never win when you're get divorced by a young attorney. But and that's why I always tell people never marry an attorney. But nothing against you personally.
I appreciate that, Larry. I really do. But yeah, I don't think you and I are in danger of getting married, so we're good.
I can put 100% down on that.
Thank
even
you.
Though I don't
Thank
bet.
you. My wife appreciates that.
Listen, tell your boys I love them, and I wish all of you guys the best. happy Thanksgiving, and I hope you guys have a very, very, very Merry Christmas.
The same to you, Larry. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, I mean, 5645 said, so the poors aren't supposed to have representation at the federal level. That's not what I said. As a conservative, I'm looking at my ballot and I'm saying, you know what? I want folks here that are going to represent me and my family. That's kind of how I look at it, right? That I'm going to put my name next to yours. And so I want folks that have experience kind of in the world that I operate in. Like, I'm looking for somebody that's had some success in business. I like people with free enterprise experience, right? I don't care what it is. You can be a lawyer, doctor, businessman, for profit. I think there's the nonprofit world. I've worked in nonprofits. I'm not against nonprofits. I'm just simply saying the lens through which I look at this is, have you, basically it's the motto that I tell my boys, like, we try hard things. We do hard things. Have you done the hard things? Have you built things? Have you worked really hard? And do you have a track record that supports that? I guess there's a place where maybe I would just say, okay, well, this person has taken a vow of poverty or something, but they've still done really, really well, and they've donated it all to the, to a ministry or something. Okay, maybe. But I'm looking for somebody who's driven. So I want to be real clear about that. It's not just money is the litmus test. Do you have a lot of money? I'll vote for you. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm simply saying earned success is something that I'm looking for in the people I vote for. That does matter to me. So if you are just doing something to hang out and pass the time, you're probably not going to be the person that I'm going to vote for. That's all. 1812 says, Jasmine Crockett, thoughts or comments? Yikes. My favorite, we did this for Nincompoops in the News. Matt mentioned this, I guess it was Wednesday, when her and her staff tried to smear other Republicans hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, and she just looked at the campaign records for Jeffrey Epstein and assumed there was only one in America. That's basically all the comment that I have. Like, I think she is very interested in the sound of her own voice, and that's fun. Which, okay, if Afton Bain wants to link up arms with her, more power to her. That's how you lose by 20 points in the 7th Congressional. But yeah, that's about what I got. Jay says, Larry sure sounds a lot like Tim Burchett. Yeah, that's fair. I get that. 6062, I really appreciate the logic / common sense you use on your show. More people need to set the emotion aside and just think. I really appreciate that. There's some benefit to that, but you're right. Politics are really driven a lot by emotion. If we can kind of rein it in, I'm not saying you can have emotion. That's fine. But if you're doing stuff because you're angry or scared or, really deep in it on the feels, you might want to just step back and think about that, because you're not, biologically speaking, your prefrontal cortex is disengaged, and that's where you do your rational thinking. But if you can kind of put the lid back on, then you can have a conversation, then you can make progress, and you can make good decisions for you and your family. And that's kind of the point here. I got to take a break, but when I come back, I've got several callers I want to get to. I want to get to your comments on the Super Talk text line. Again, it's 615-737-9986. I'm Cameron Smith, and you're listening to Super Talk 99.7.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy for Savory Spice. I got to talk to Holly over the weekend. We went by Savory Spice. And look at what if you're watching on camera, look at this. You're seeing that I've got the Run Amok box, and I'm going to show you something that is not currently available. But you're going to be able to get it the day after Thanksgiving. So this is, they always have the Run Amok brand syrup, which is excellent maple syrup. But every year, this is the huge seller that always sells out. It is the Run Amok limited release Snow Globe Sparkle Syrup. That's right. These are sparklies that you can see and that you can eat and that the kids absolutely love. It's for the holidays. You put this on pancakes, waffles, or whatever goodness, French toast or whatever it is, deliciousness, and the kids will go insane. And it is available exclusively at Savory Spice. It might be available somewhere else, but the only place that I would get it is Savory Spice. We stocked up, man. We got stuff for the turkey. We got stuff for the fixins for Thanksgiving because I believe in celebrating Thanksgiving. And we got free to me to display to you Run Amok Sparkle Syrup. That's not going to be available until after Thanksgiving. So get it at Savory Spice. It's located right there in Franklin, just off the square. Go by, see Holly and the rest of the crew. You'll smell it before you see it. It is the smells of the aromas are so delicious. And ask them about the Run Amok syrup that you can get after Thanksgiving exclusively at Savory Spice.
A candidate pulls out of the race to challenge Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson. We'll tell you about these stories and more at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Welcome back. This is the Matt Murphy Show. I'm not Matt Murphy. I'm Cameron Smith. Matt I think he's at Costco buying the largest turkey that he can find. That would be my guess. He seems like that kind of guy. We were at Costco the other day, and my wife was looking at the turkeys literally because during Thanksgiving we go to Pennsylvania with her family. So she couldn't take any turkey with her, but she searches for the largest frozen turkey. And yeah, we have 5 boys. We eat a ton of food. No question about it. But this for her is an obsession. Like, she gets really excited about, we got the big one. And so I don't know if others of you are out there like that, but for her, it is a thing. You know, I want to get to a couple different calls. I see you, other issues. I want to tell you about my experience at Whole Foods. This is where we'll just say people to the left of center overpay for groceries, and the rest of us return our Amazon stuff. And I was looking at diets, and this is what happens whenever I start looking at the AI. I start talking to Grok, and Grok's talking to me about gut health and other things. And so I went into Whole Foods commando style. You know, I'm weaving through the aisles in case somebody like spots me and tackles me as a conservative. I fear that may happen in there, so you never know. But Grok had instructed me that I should, for gut health, try kraut. Now, I've had like sauerkraut in Reuben or something like this, but this was get a little kraut juice and, you know, a couple of tablespoons of that. And I'll tell you guys, not gonna lie, don't do that. Sauerkraut in its natural form is decaying cabbage, and it, without associated meat, is rough. It's really rough, and I was trying to, you know, white knuckle it, and no. And I got some kimchi, and that, it sounds exotic, and I've had kimchi before. Again, not really what hits the spot, you know, coming home from the office. So just, I'm letting you guys know that. So if you too get involved with an AI and it tells you to improve your gut health with weird fermented stuff, that's not beer, don't do that. Just say no to the AI. It's not your friend at all, actually. I want to hit a little bit. I think we have time for one call. I want to talk to Ricky, but Ricky, we got to go in a couple minutes. So what you got?
Hi. I wanted to tell you, regarding health care.
Yeah.
I think Medicare should be one of the options offered to the public at a reasonable price. As you probably know, all the private health insurance companies, they run with the overhead of 20 to 40 cents on a dollar, really, versus Medicare, which runs around 1.8 cents on a dollar, actually.
So buy-in to Medicare.
I'm sorry?
So you're just talking like a buy-in to Medicare.
Correct.
Okay.
Offered as a, option to the people under age 65, actually.
Right.
That way, the cost private insurers basically have to compete with the Medicare. Like, the FedEx and UPS have to compete with the post office. Actually, that's the way they could basically keep the price down.
That's an interesting thought. I mean, I hadn't really thought of doing it that way, but it's really interesting.
So that's why I feel like they are to offer it at a non-profit basis to the general public.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting thought. Thank you for the call, Ricky. I mean, yeah, okay. Rick on the Super Talk text line says he can eat sauerkraut by itself, no problem. Now I'm thinking about sauerkraut and, that's an interesting idea. Under 65 buy-in to Medicare, and that would, it's interesting. It's interesting. I want to think about that a little more. It's an idea that, okay. We got to take a break. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
5:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And election 2026 in Tennessee. Gary Humble has ended his campaign to unseat Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson. Humble, who founded the conservative group Tennessee Stands, nearly defeated Johnson in the 2022 Republican primary. He lost by just under 800 votes. Humble says personal changes and frustration with what he calls corruption in politics led to his decision. Humble's withdrawal leaves Johnson without a major challenger in next year's race. The FBI says the man who tried to assassinate former President Donald Trump acted alone. That is, President Donald Trump. Well, actually, he was candidate at the time. Investigators found no evidence of co-conspirators after reviewing hundreds of thousands of digital files and interviewing more than 1,000 people. The shooter, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, fired 8 shots at the Pennsylvania rally there in July of 2024, grazing the president's ear and killing one spectator. The FBI has not identified a clear motive, but says the case will reopen if new leads emerge. Meanwhile, President Trump met with New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani today at the White House. The two men very cordial in front of cameras, speaking in the Oval Office alongside Mamdani. Trump said his administration will help the new mayor for the sake of New York City.
We talked about some things in very strong common, like housing and getting housing built and food and prices.
And Mamdani.
I appreciated the meeting with the president, and as he said, it was a productive meeting focused on a place of shared admiration and love, which is New York City.
Aaron Kontersky.
He's not blind to the idea that the two men do not see eye to eye on most things, but he said that 1 in 10 New Yorkers who voted for Trump in 2024 voted for him in 2025. And he went to the neighborhoods, Midwood, Queens, and Fordham Road in the Bronx, where he said that there's the highest concentration of those kinds of crossover voters. And he said they were concerned about the same things, affordability and cost of living.
That's the latest news, traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Watkins Park got a crash. That's 40 eastbound at Charlotte Avenue on the South Loop. In Murfreesboro, police activity has the left shoulder blocked, 24 eastbound at New Salem Highway. Over here by the airport, B&A, we've got a crash 40 eastbound at Briley Parkway East. And then back to Murfreesboro, another crash. Highway Patrol reporting 24 westbound approaching Joe B. Jackson Parkway. Back here in Nashville, the Hermitage injury crash 40 eastbound at Central Pike. I'm Ken Weaver.
I mean, it's that time of year, right? Where during the day, you're probably popping on that AC from time to time, but that night, maybe you're throwing the heat on. Well, one way or the other, if the season has caught you off guard, now's the time to get your winter maintenance done with Efficient Heating and Cooling. It's the best way to avoid costly repairs and breakdowns during the season. With Efficient, you'll get the best value around. You'll never pay more than $125 to service the units in your home, no matter how many you have. 2, 3, 4, doesn't matter. $125 is the max amount. Sometimes it's much less than that. The savings then stack up because your heating unit is running more efficiently. That means it saves you money on a monthly basis. And if you do find yourself in need of repair or to address a breakdown, Efficient does not charge overtime rates on the evenings or on the weekends. That's nice to know as well. They just don't believe in it. Efficient Heating and Cooling, 615-784-4424, 615-784-4424, or online at efficienthvac.net.
Man, this is a good-looking crowd we have here today. I can't see any of you, but I'm convinced by what you say on the Super Talk text line, 615-737-9986. I appreciate you guys letting me hang out with you. It's a lot of fun, and I love it when you guys engage. Tom, the line says Tom Turkey, so we're definitely taking this one. Hey, Tom, what's up?
Either that or I need an extension to power the wall. Here, let me tell you a trick. You know what that is? We have 10 free in the ground, right?
Hey, Tom.
You get an end that plugs into the wall socket, and
Tom,
you get
I think Tom's distracted. Oh, okay. Okay. Bye, Tom. Well, Tom was going to tell me something about turkey, but he told me about plugging stuff in. I'm guessing he's doing Christmas lights. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but we started putting up our Christmas lights. I mean, some of y'all are hanging out saying, no, not before Christmas because reasons, but like, I like colored lights all over my house.
I'm doing it this weekend, dude.
It's fun.
Ken Weaver's going to be on a ladder.
No, I mean, nobody dresses up. Yes. Nobody dresses up as, or decorates for Thanksgiving. There's no, like, Thanksgiving lights. You just eat stuff. Like, maybe you put out, like, a pumpkin, but you already had pumpkins for Halloween. So it's just kind of like, it's just not, I don't get excited for Thanksgiving decorations.
We got to come up with some Thanksgiving lights.
Thanksgiving lights. And you know what'd be funny, Ken, is if they look just like Christmas lights. And then you could just transition. It would be great.
That's right.
Okay. So we didn't get to Tom, but we can get to Jackson.
Nincompoops in the news.
Okay. I think I might have a great one today, so I'll let you guys go first. Jackson, why don't you be the lead-off batter today?
Yes.
Well, Ken Weaver won yesterday.
Okay, Ken, then you can go. Sorry, Ken, I didn't know.
Okay. All right. Well, you boys let me know if we've already done this one, okay? I had to go a little bit back to September for this one. A couple banned from a Georgia state park after having sex in the woods and fighting. The Winder Police Department arrested a couple for public indecency after they said the two, while having sex at Fort Yargo State Park, got into a fight. According to police reports, 37-year-old Frederick Libby and 30-year-old Julia Krieger made plans together to go to the woods and get, quote, blackout drunk that day.
Yes.
The two got into a fight when Krieger reportedly said the name of her ex-husband while they were in the middle of it all. The couple then argued, and Krieger went back to the vehicle with her dog, while Libby followed. Their activity drew someone's attention, and she ran off to her car. Police said they had been called to the park when a man reported the situation to law enforcement, saying that Libby was, quote, yelling and screaming at Krieger. The caller said the woman was thrown against a car and to the ground. Well, when police found Libby on a hiking path, they said he was wearing a towel, and while trying to keep holding it up, eventually failed, showing he was wearing nothing underneath. Officers handcuffed Libby and took him to a patrol car. Then a search of Krieger's vehicle led to the discovery of a firearm, and the weapon was placed into evidence.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. That's usually... It's usually not a good plan to get blackout drunk at a park.
Yeah, yeah. But
we've all been there,
It's
though.
certainly a date idea, you know? Like, I just can't imagine that going well in any way.
Had she just kept her mouth shut in the middle of it all, it might have been all right.
Oh, God, Ken.
Family-friendly show, Ken. All right, Jackson.
All right, man undergoes surgery after 8 centimeter by 6 centimeter ceramic cup gets stuck up his bottom by accident.
That's a story waiting to happen.
A man has somehow managed to lodge a pretty large ceramic mug up his butt, forcing medical intervention by surgeons to remove the drinkware from inside his derriere. A man has claimed he accidentally managed to lodge a ceramic cup up his bum and obviously ended up getting it stuck. The man, who is unnamed, from Taiwan, left hospital staff shocked by when he bizarrely,
Yeah, that's good.
decided to stick the cup measuring 8 centimeters by 6 centimeters in his anus. Medical staff at Lee General Hospital only released the extent of the issue when the full-size mug popped up during an x-ray scan. He initially turned up at the hospital saying he was suffering from an abdominal distension for 3 days and had been unable to defecate. Despite the huge job on their hands, doctors acted quickly by trying to remove the cup external, but this was to no avail. Doctors were then forced to put the man through a major 2-hour operation. The major surgery required the cup to be taken through his intestines.
Oh,
According, the man was too embarrassed to mention the cup to doctors at the time. The man was hoping to be able to push the cup out naturally, but was unable to get any bowel movements. Despite the embarrassing procedure now being over, the man did not reveal details of how the incident occurred. All he told doctors was, after being rumbled by the x-ray, was that it happened by accident, somehow.
That's a heck of an accident.
His only response was, I don't know, I did it by accident. A doctor at the hospital also warned that inserting objects into the butt can cause immense damage to internal organs and be fatal. He told the publication that he was aware of baseball bats and even a coconut getting stuck up there, but the cup was a first. There's another word in there, but I'm not going to say that.
I just wonder, you look at that cup and you're like, you know what? I don't know what happens after that. Like, that's a lot of.
I might just say, this is the end of me. I'm not going to the hospital.
Yeah. Just going to die from being backed up.
Yep.
This. How does it accidentally happen?
It didn't, Ken. He was lying.
Yes. He accidentally got it stuck. Yeah. He didn't mean for it to stay there forever.
A cup is just such a weird shape.
It is.
It was an accident, Doc.
Was it a dare? I think he got dared.
Well, hey, I got one that was, I guess, a challenge. So we can go with this. A man was driving. This is a Florida man, obviously. That's what I do.
Yeah.
A man was driving to work earlier this month on Broken Arrow Trail when he spotted a man walking down the road naked, despite the 36-degree outside temperature. The man was captured on the driver's Tesla cameras. You know what buck naked means? He's not even wearing any socks, Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd explained. You can be naked and wearing socks, but buck naked means you don't have anything on. Thank you, Sheriff Judd. Really cleared that up for everybody.
Yes, sir.
The driver called the sheriff's office. We asked him, "Are you cold?" "Not a bit." "What are you doing?" "Well, it's a TikTok challenge." You don't even have your cell phone. You're really naked when you don't have your cell phone, Judd said. The sheriff added that when the deputies asked him for his name, the man gave a false name and wrong address. They addressed him for violations of the law. He went and arrived to jail. That's when he arrived to book in. He said, well, here comes buck naked. And so the Sheriff Judd was like, you ain't got no phone.
No.
You're doing a TikTok challenge with no phone.
Yeah.
And so, that's not a thing, folks. If you're going to do the challenge, you got to have your phone.
How many times since we've been doing Nincompoops, I think we have mentioned Sheriff Judd out of Polk County at least 4 times.
He's got some characters to deal with.
We got to try to get him on the air sometime.
That is actually Grady Judd. Yeah, we should, because hey, you can have socks on and be naked, but you're buck naked if you ain't got no socks.
Right. Exactly.
And then if you ain't got a phone, you're really, really buck naked.
You are naked.
And that's how we play, Jackson.
Woo!
So you got to vote. You got to vote now. You got to tell us who's the one, And what's that song, Red Solo Cup? Fill you up.
Red Solo Cup.
What's the next line?
I can't remember.
Oh.
Hey, that's Toby
my
Keith.
butt.
Jackson got it. Yeah, Jackson figured it out.
Let's have a party.
Proceed to party. That is, I don't want to come to your party. And not if you're doing that.
Yeah, not if you're putting cups up the butt.
Yeah. When they start breaking out the cups, I'm running. That's not, we got to stop that kind of stuff. That's nonsense. Okay. So there it is. We got some votes. Gene says I'm disqualified. Somebody's qualified. Several concealed carry jokes about the cup. Wanted to know if he kept the cup. Gross.
Yes, there was a photo of it in the article.
Okay. That is the worst. And then, where's the other one down there? Jared is just talking about Thanksgiving inflatables as if this is a thing that we should support. Matt had one in here.
It was awesome.
It was.
I miss Phineas Huckleberry Tom T. Turkey.
But the truth is, inflatables are the way of saying, I don't care. You know? It's like I'm mailing it in. If you're not like Clark Griswold and really trying to like do some exotic stuff, I mean, I don't even know if I care.
But Phineas, he was a good-looking fella.
He was.
Where did he go?
The mind-numbing buzz from the fan was a bit too much.
Yeah,
that's where it went. We got to take a break. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Men of Valor. Men of Valor, what a wonderful organization. What a great effort that they make in our prison systems every day of the year. But now, this time of year, many of you might be thinking about giving. And if you are thinking about giving, might I recommend Men of Valor as a wonderful opportunity for you to give as you can or volunteer, if you will. Men of Valor equip men getting out of the prison system with tools and resources that they need to succeed upon being released, including housing, food, clothing, transportation, identification, employment, recovery, and much, much more. Plus, they give them a sense of purpose. And through God Almighty, they turn their minds around and they turn takers into givers in society. And that's what we need. Productive members of society coming out of our prison system, not career criminals. That's what it's all about. Men of Valor also lowers the recidivism rate to the point where we're saving money as a result. Will you give as you can? Volunteer if you will. Men of Valor. Go to movministry.com. That's movministry.com. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Men of Valor. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy for Safe House. You know, Nashville Safe House has rebates galore. Well, I mean, Browning's got some rebates, and they got some rebates, and there's other rebates, and you never pay sales tax on a gun safe at Nashville Safe House, and all of that adds up to huge savings during the holidays. So let's talk about that $400 rebate from now until the end of the year with the Browning safe. And Browning has some of the best fire ratings in the industry. If you know anything about gun safes, know and love Browning. You can also find Liberty. You can also find Rhino. You can also find Fort Knox is another brand name that people know and love. And they're all found at Nashville Safe House. Now, I would tell you to go see Mark, but the real straw that stirs the drink over there is Jill and her team behind the glass. Go see these guys and tell them that I sent you to Nashville Safe House. The lobby's beautiful. You see Donald Trump there on the left. You see Matt Murphy's special on the right. And you go through those lobby doors. You walk through into the showroom, and you'll see more safes than you can. I mean, vault doors and safes and tornado shelters all there waiting for you in the big time showroom / warehouse. Plus, that's just about a third of what they have in total. They got more safes than any place in the United States of America, and I stake my reputation on it. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com. They've got something for you, and they'll allow one of their professional delivery crews to deliver it to you right across the street from City Cemetery on 4th Avenue South. Stop by, say hello. Online, NashvilleSafeHouse.com.
The FBI says it has wrapped up its investigation into the attempt on President Trump's life when he was a candidate in 2024. We'll tell you about it at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Welcome back. We're short timing it now. We're getting to the 6 o'clock hour where we're just going to have fun because it's Friday. And unless you guys want to talk about the Epstein files more or Marjorie Taylor Greene or tariffs or all the other stuff that's just not as much fun, we'll find only fun topics and talk about those. But my house is fun because I have multiple teenage boys. I have 16, 15, 15, 14, and 11 in my house. And so
boy,
it is like 300 meets Animal House.
Yeah.
Just weird. That includes 2 dogs, a bearded dragon, and 2 hermit crabs. I don't know how I ended up with hermit crabs.
Hermit crab's still alive?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No.
All right.
No, Jeff died. The one from the Gulf that got accidentally packed in our luggage and brought home.
Oh.
Jeff didn't make it. I think Jeff just wasn't, he was happy where he was and just wasn't cut out for a life in my house. The new ones that we got from the pet store seem perfectly happy, but they're hermit crabs. It's real hard to bond with those, you know? But there's a lot of things in my house that are very bizarre. Like I'll come in and they'll be in a hanging contest to see who can hang on the gym equipment from the bar the longest.
Yeah.
They'll be flipping tires to see who can do that. And everything's a competition, which is good. I support competition. I think this is great.
And as long as they're not lighting fires.
Oh, Ken, you had to go there. Fire is the spice of life when you are a teenage boy. And so, yeah, so I got my wife a photon candle, which is basically wax dust with some wicks you stick in it, and it's pretty cool. My boys realized that with that set, I got her a lighter for that is this electric lighter.
Oh, yeah.
You press the button and it zaps. And I came out of my bedroom in the morning the other day, and my oldest had a plastic straw in that lighter and was trying to cut it like he had a lightsaber. And I just went back in my bedroom because I was like, it's too early for this.
This isn't happening.
Why? Well, I just want to see if it'd work. Well, what would lead you to, it'll set a wick on fire. Why would you believe that it wouldn't similarly melt the straw? Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of these kind of talks in my house, and I want to bring you in on the action, if you will, in the 6 o'clock hour. And again, it's your show. You decide you want to talk about the Epstein files. Again, we've been doing this for 5 months now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's ever going to end. I think the next thing we're going to see is we've launched new investigations, so we're unable to turn over that information at this time.
Oh, now, Cameron, that's not going to happen.
I hope it doesn't. I just hope against hope. But the table is set. There's new information, and we are interested. This is old information to you guys. You've had it the whole time. And that's the thing that the government keeps asking us to not know. You've had it the whole time. You could look at it because it's Thursday, and you just want to go look at the files. Like, you could have done anything, and then to now say, well, we need to investigate. Nobody believes that. The American people are not stupid. This is much like immigration enforcement, like a 80-20 issue. Like, it's just people want transparency. They want to see the law enforced. There's winning issues, and there's losing issues. For Republicans right now, this is a losing issue because the more we talk about it and don't do it, the more the Democrats get to cling to the issue. And it's a winner to be like, hey, billionaires were doing some kind of shady stuff. Politically connected people were doing some weird stuff. Okay, now you know. And that's good. That's actually a very, very good thing. But 5354 is on the line, says he's dad of 3 girls, and says they will burn some beep. Well, if we need a pyro pairing, just give me a call because if there's ever an opportunity to set something on fire, my boys are like, yeah, let's probably do that.
Yeah.
I don't really blame them. It is a lot of fun. We got to take a break. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Superdog 99.7.
6 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Election 2026 in Tennessee. Gary Humbles pulled out of the race for Tennessee Senate District 27. The conservative activist, founder of Tennessee Stands, nearly defeated Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson in the 2022 Republican primary. He came within under 800 votes. And Humbles says family priorities and frustration with political corruption drove his decision. His exit leaves Johnson with a clearer path to re-election next year. The FBI says the man who tried to kill former President Donald Trump acted alone. That's when President Trump was the candidate in July of 2024 at that rally in Pennsylvania. After reviewing hundreds of thousands of digital files and interviewing more than 1,000 people, investigators found no evidence of co-conspirators. The shooter, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, opened fire there at that Pennsylvania rally, grazed Trump's ear, and killed one spectator. And while the motive remains unclear, according to the FBI, they say it will reopen the case if new leads surface. President Trump meeting with New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani today at the White House. The two men very cordial in front of the cameras. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers with the latest.
There was no contentious back and forth over their policy differences or any personal attacks when President Trump and New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani spoke in front of cameras Friday afternoon in the Oval Office. The president told reporters the meeting surprised him, and he said repeatedly how he was going to help Mamdani.
I think you're going to have hopefully a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am, I will say. There's no difference in party. There's no difference in anything. And we're going to be helping him.
Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
All right, back here in Tennessee on election 2025, 7th Congressional District, a special election early voting underway. And Fox 17 says Democrat Afton Bain getting backlash for an old podcast she hosted.
I've been heavily involved with the Nashville mayoral race because I hate the city, I hate the bachelorettes, I hate the pedal taverns, I hate country music, I hate all of the things that make Nashville apparently an it city to the rest of the country, but I hate it.
Well, that was from 2020, and this is Bain yesterday saying, I don't hate Nashville.
Now, I always want Nashville to be better, right? I want Nashville to be a place where working people can thrive, right? But sure, I get mad at the Bachelorette sometimes. I get mad at the pedal taverns, right? And you're talking to someone who has cried no less than 10 times in the Country Music Hall of Fame. The girl that just goes to the Ryman to hang out.
Meanwhile, Democrats are pouring money in to try to chip away at President Trump-backed Republican Matt Van Epps' lead by promoting John Thorpe, a self-proclaimed conservative independent. Despite the heavy spending, strategist Chip Saltzman predicts Van Epps will still win, though by a tighter margin. He joked Republicans might need, quote, a couple of swigs of Pepto-Bismol on election night, which is December 2nd. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. White House, we've got a disabled vehicle blocking the left lane, 65 southbound right there at Bethel Road. At Watkins Park, a crash, 40 eastbound at Charlotte Avenue. Over by the airport, 40 eastbound at Briley Parkway. And then the Hermitage, 40 eastbound at Central Pike. Murfreesboro, an accident blocking the left lane, 24 eastbound at New Salem Highway. That's exit 80. I'm Ken Weaver.
We are in the final countdown of this Friday edition of the Matt Murphy Show. I'm Cameron Smith. Y'all have been wonderful, wonderful people for joining me today. I very much appreciate it. 615-737-9986 is the number for the SuperDoc text line. And some of you, see, I knew this would happen on Friday. You'd start getting squirrely. Nolene says, hashtag Tannerite. If you know, you know, folks. If you need to blow some stuff up, there is not much more fun than Tannerite. It's usually offered as two components, and then it's exploding targets. Like when you shoot it, it blows up. It's fun. Also, old 70s couches. If you have not set a very old couch on fire, you're just missing out and you don't understand why consumer product safety matters, because flame retardant materials actually probably save a lot of lives, because burning an old couch, it is amazing how fast they basically explode. Thank you, Gene. I appreciate the encouragement on the show today. Marty has some kid stories, so I'm going to go to Marty. We're having fun, Marty. What's the kid story?
I've got two boys that are, well, at the time they were 16 years old, 15 and 16, and then I got a younger one that's 5 years younger than they are. So I've got a upstairs with about 12 or 13 steps that were carpeted, and my oldest boys would put my youngest in a storage, like those plastic storage totes,
Mm-hmm.
and they'd push him down the stairs like he was sledding.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. That brings back memories for me, because we did the same thing. We used to live outside of off Concord Road in a neighborhood called Chenoweth, and we had a long back stairwell, real long, and we had this play school. It looked like a little cab. It was red with like a yellow top, and we would put my little brother in there, wrap him in blankets, put a football helmet on him, and throw him down the stairs. And we only got caught when we sent the play school thing through the wall at the bottom of the stairs. And then Mom said we couldn't do that anymore.
Right.
It slowed us down a lot. They were very permissive.
Your wife must be a saint to have all of those boys at the house.
She is, but she prefers it. She is a great boy mom, and is not. Now I have to handle like blood and bone, but she doesn't get grossed out easy. She's not afraid of bugs. She does make me pick up the spiders if we have one, but she handles it very, very well.
Right.
Well, I appreciate the call. Oh, you got one more? Go ahead.
One more question before I go. I'm not looking to see anybody leave the station, but if somebody would leave the station and they offered you a show, would you take it?
I have so many things that are going on. I love being the first man off the bench, but I'm telling you, the guys here that do this day in and day out are talented in ways that I don't know if I could ever be, because think about this. The news cycles don't change quite that fast, and you got to be interesting day after day. So what Matt can do, I like the support role, but I'm always interested, and I will always entertain any idea. But I'm telling you, the guys that do it full time here they're real pros. And I just play one on the radio.
I agree with you, but it's nice to have a different voice on once in a while.
Well, that's what I like to be, Marty, and I really appreciate the call.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
So, since we're having fun, for those of you who are Googling tannerite, please do. Also, make sure that it is for a legitimate sporting activity under Tennessee law, but figure that out. 8727, how about rifle shooting an old projection TV or lighting fireworks inside on the fireplace? Oh, man. This also brings... I have a lot of memories now that I think about it. This actually happened, so I'm glad to tell you guys. My brothers and I love to go to Tennessee, Alabama fireworks. We'd go to my grandparents' house in the summer, and they live in Georgia, and we would... big fireworks superstore, and we would go buy fireworks, or we would raid the tents, after the 4th of July, they would have leftover inventory and they'd fire sale it. And so we would go buy that. And then we loved to have bottle rocket wars. We would throw bottle rockets at each other. We would shoot each other with Roman candles. One of my brothers had a scar on his chest where he got shot and it stuck. I'm not recommending any of this to anyone. It is incredibly unsafe, incredibly dangerous. that's the reason when my mom knew about it, she said, make sure you wear face protection. So we wore paintball masks while we get engaged in bottle rocket wars. And if you have never felt a real thrill like somebody shooting a Roman candle at you. I don't know that that's good. It may mean that I'm sort of vomiting up trauma here, but you run, you know? I mean, when the different colored projectiles are flying past you, it's exhilarating. Let's see. I mean, we had a whole bunch of that stuff. And now my boys are, we have like a back porch that's on the second story, and periodically one of them will get a hankering to lock the other one outside. And now they've learned to climb over the railing and climb down the side of my house, which, don't worry, it's not concerning at all with people sneaking out at night. But that's just our house, man. It's fun. I think we had a conference, not really conference. We just had a conversation last night, and I was accused of not being particularly fun and working all the time, and that I like to work and I like to not leave anything on the table, and I set a high standard, and they were like, Dad, you know, it's just, that's your thing. And so I'm processing that today and seeing how can I modify things. And I've just come to realize that I am totally Dad. I am asking them questions like, okay, so would you like me to continue to press you to do your best, or would you like me to not? Well, that's a loaded question. I don't know if your dad's asked you that question, but they kind of know how that's going to go. And I said, well, you would like to not? Is that what I'm hearing? And they're like, this isn't fair. You're a lawyer. You're leading the witness. We don't like this game. And so we're working through that. Mark has some kid stories. What you got, Mark?
Hey, good evening. How are you?
I'm well.
So listening to you talking about the bottle rockets and stuff brought up memories. We used to do that, but the thing that we used to do, I'm 60, and when we were kids, we would use BB guns.
Yeah.
And our brothers, we would shoot each other, and my mom would just go, look, just be careful. And one time we had to use a butter knife to pop a BB out of the skin.
Yeah, that's basic. That's basic. The Red Ryder, like the single cock ones, don't shoot very hard unless it's like point blank. We learned that.
Yeah, we used to cock them, pump them up like 10 times, and one time my brother, this was the funniest thing, I was going to shoot him, we were in the bedroom, held up a blanket like it was going to stop it.
Yeah, you learn pretty quick. And I call this managed risks, okay? Like, you got to have managed risk. Like, don't shoot in the face, but, getting whacked with a BB, it doesn't feel good. And so you learn, hey, maybe we should play a different game.
Well, and it does teach you how to manage pain also.
Mm-hmm.
Like people nowadays, they stub a toe and they cry. We used to stub a toe and then you just go, son of a biscuit.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you, Mark.
And you learn not to do it.
Thanks for the stories, man. I mean, y'all bring them. I love hearing this. I mean, I'll tell you, one of the favorite things, will always be one of my favorite things, is to build a nice campfire and then stand up real close and throw a gross of bottle rockets in. You'll see what you're made of real fast. You're probably pretty dumb to do that, but it is to see who runs first. And look, that's the story of my childhood and my boys, whether I wanted them to or not. I don't want them on the devices. I don't. I think they're awful. I think they make them dumb, lazy, and beefy. Like, that's all it does. Is like, it sits you there and it tranquilizes you. I want them running around, being wild, doing stuff. Now, maybe not like a TikTok challenge without a camera, but I want them being out there. Nolene talks about a potato cannon. Yes, potato gun. When I was I guess I was a junior at Washington and Lee University. I lived in the rural part of Virginia, and we built one out of PVC pipe, had a very large blast chamber, and fueled it with Aquanet. Well, I don't know if y'all know it, but sometimes folks in college don't make the best decisions. We used potatoes. We shot them. They went really far. And we were like, one of my fraternity brothers, I think he might have had some drinks. I do think so. He said, well, why don't we fill this sock with flour and put it in the potato gun, and then you guys can shoot me. And I just want to see what it feels like. Well, we did that. He was about 10 yards away. And the bruise that he had was the biggest single bruise I've ever seen in my life. I'm pretty sure he had internal bleeding and survived. But just a lesson, in case you're curious what a sock filled with flour will do out of a potato gun, don't shoot yourself or anyone else. It is a bad idea. 5354 says, yeah, you get a butt whooping if you had to go to the ER. It's risk tolerance. 1479 says, egg in the microwave is a surprisingly large explosion. Don't do it in the house. Had to clean up cooked egg all over the kitchen. Yep. I like that. Large black cat or similar firework in a hardened mud ball is a fun, fairly safe hand grenade. I'm just learning. Y'all are teaching me all kinds of stuff. This is fantastic. 7610 said, 2 tours in Vietnam satisfied my curiosity about someone shooting at me. Thank you for your service, and that makes total sense. 5354 said, or aerosol cans in the fire. That is a bad idea. That is I would not do that because that comes out as shrapnel. I have done that, but I would not do that again and would not introduce that to my boys. BB gun wars and bottle rocket wars notwithstanding. I love it that several of you guys have said BB gun wars, but with them only pumped halfway up. Like there's rules of engagement to things that are basically and fundamentally unsafe. We got to take a break. We'll come back and continue this conversation and head on out towards 7 o'clock. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Cover Nash. Cover Nash and Shane Ring, good people, and they provide an incredible service to our people that listen to the show. What do? They go over your health insurance plan for you. They make sure that everything is as it should be. Shane Ring does this all throughout the year, but now it's more important than ever because 2026 brings Obamacare. It brings premiums that are shooting up, in some cases even tripling with sky-high deductibles to match. You do not have to play by Washington's rules. Shane and Cover Nash can help you cut your cost by 40 to 60%. Keep any doctor or hospital and skip the government red tape. If you're self-employed, if you are uninsured, or if you're just tired of paying too much, friends, it's time to go with Cover Nash. 615-465-0023, 465-0023, or covernash.com. Covernash.com. Real health care coverage on your terms, not the terms of the government. It's Cover Nash and Shane Ring. Give him a call today.
We also have serious concerns from 1290. Jackson, who do you think will win, Florida or Tennessee?
Tennessee, go Vols.
Based on anything or just your feelings?
Just my feelings.
Okay.
And those can never be hurt.
Okay. Well, I hope your feelings are not hurt because I think Vanderbilt might hurt your feelings.
I don't think Vanderbilt beats Tennessee and Neyland. I've been strong. I told you that in what?
You did.
September?
You told me that. I just hope that I hope that's a thing because, man, I think it's going to be emotionally traumatic for you if that happens. And I don't want you've told us that you might be at the bottom of the Cumberland, and I don't think that Matt and I want to have to fish you out. Like maybe we should just go and wait on
Yeah, just wait at the bank.
Yeah, and just be like, okay, Jackson, no, and that'll be the way that we handle that. 6130 said rotten walnut war. Yes, that is a great thing. We every year when we pull up our garden, there's still a few tomatoes left on the vine, and the rotten tomato wars are outstanding. If you've never been hit by a rotten tomato and it just goes splort, it's wild, and it stains. Just so you know. Some of you, I think, may be amateur bomb makers, and it's a little concerning to me, but I like it. The Works toilet bowl cleaner and aluminum foil in a 2-liter soda bottle. Big boom. Watch out for the residual smoke. Very toxic. Okay. That's bad. Yes. This is a good one. I've seen this, and I know it's a thing. You got to be really, one, you shouldn't be burning plastic anyway. Like, that's the truth. But don't let your boys light plastic milk jugs on fire. They will burn. The plastic drips off on fire, and it's like napalm, and it will scar you when it lands on your hand. I have the scar on my hand 50 years later. That's 2666. Yeah. That's absolutely. Y'all seen that when plastic melts and then it's on fire and it drips. Yeah, I probably don't want to touch that. Speaking of don't want to touch that, I just noticed a text from Andy Ogles. Representative Ogles is interesting. On the day that President Donald Trump meets with Mayor Mamdani, who, is a Democratic socialist like Bernie Sanders. That's what he is. President Trump says, hey, some of his ideas are like my ideas. Like, he actually said that. I don't know which ones, but that was a thing that happened. And Ogles tweeted, deport Mamdani. Like, I just really wish that my representative would focus on things that are relevant to my family, unlike the mayor of New York. The mayor of New York is not in any way relevant to what's going on in America. We have energy prices we like to continue to reduce. We want to have groceries that continue to go down in price. We want to have immigration laws enforced. All of these things are fine. But the idea that this should be a focal point is just bizarre and weird. And I even looked it up, was trying to figure out, well, what's the argument here? The argument is that he allegedly may have lied on his immigration application. And here's my take. You know what? The people of New York, knowing all the same things, voted for him to be their mayor. Now, I don't think it was a very good call. I think there will be consequences for the city of New York, who's already very, very, very in debt. But okay, I think it's $300 billion is the debt of the city of New York, and Mamdani's going to spend a bunch more. You know who needs to deal with that? New Yorkers. This idea of Mamdani, Democratic Socialist, deport him. It's on the same day that Trump's meeting with him. If Trump thought, hey, this is a guy who really we should review this and deport him, Would he have met with him? I don't think so. The cartoonish stuff, it needs to go. And at this rate, I mean, I hope Charlie Hatcher and some of the other folks in the field can bring a little more to the table. I don't get it. I mean, it seems like performative, dog and pony stuff and maybe some of you guys, that's what you really want your representative to focus on is the mayor of New York. I don't. We got to take a break. This is the Matt Murphy Show. I'm Cameron Smith, and you're listening to Superdog 99.7.
Selling your home can be stressful, but it doesn't have to be. Get a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. There are no showings, no open houses, no stress. Work with the #1 real estate team in the U.S. and close with confidence. Go to markspain.com today.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. Tennessee Men's Clinic has now three separate locations to serve you in Middle Tennessee. The first OG opened in 2014. Evan Bass and his team wanted to help you guys figure out energy levels. You know, guys, for a long, long time, they felt like, well, if my energy level falls off, that's just the product of being middle-aged or a little bit older. And then that translated to bedroom activity. And I know that's an intimate conversation, but gentlemen, if this is happening to you, you don't have to go through life without intimacy. You can get to the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and one-on-one individually as a urology-based clinic, they're going to figure out exactly what's going on in your body. They'll take a little blood work. First appointment, $99 for the first appointment. They're going to get some blood work, and if medically advised, they'll give you your first treatment on the first day. Let's get this behind us, Ben. Let's get off the bench and back into the game with the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Locations in Nashville, in Cool Springs, and now brand new location in Clarksville. 615-208-9090 to schedule an appointment at any of those locations. 615-208-9090 or TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Welcome back. I'm Cameron Smith. Thank you for being with me. I've thrown out a couple articles and other things over on the X machine at D. Cameron Smith. At D. Cameron Smith. And that way you can yell at me even when I'm not on the air. It's tons of fun for everyone. 0152 says, you haven't mentioned raccoons much. Oh, don't worry. I'm going to free the raccoons. We just need the General Assembly to be in session, and we're going to get it done. And at some point, I think it's eminently reasonable for me to have a raccoon as a pet. And 9058 is, I think, very upset that I pointed out that Trump said he had some of the same ideas as Mayor Mamdani. So he was in the Oval Office today and
$2.90 for a Metro card.
Mr. President, you know, we had some interesting conversation, and some of his ideas really are the same ideas that I have. But a big thing on cost, you know, the new word is affordability.
So, yeah, that happened. He said that. If I tell you that, hey, there's something that was said, I'm not going to lie to you on the air. That really happened. You don't have to like it, but the idea of Trump meeting with the mayor of New York in the Oval Office and saying, hey, some of his ideas are my ideas, actually happened, and I don't think he would do that if he was planning to deport him. Just saying. So that I put that out for your consideration. And several of y'all were concerned that we've been having a lot of fun, and you didn't want those comments by Representative Ogles to derail it, and it won't. Especially with the rest of you telling me about things you've thrown in fires. 0890 says, there threw a can of green beans in a fire once, made a nice little pop, and hot beans went all over everyone. All right. I get it. It's just one of those things. Raccoons don't throw animals in the fire. That's bad. If you have a big enough bonfire and you start the bonfire, typically, if it's been there long enough, rabbits and other things will run out. 3449 says, I will work the raccoon bill free of charge. I'll be there working a bunch of other stuff you'll agree with too. I will DM you my number and you can text me. I'll do it right now because I'm dead serious. I think it's silly to have weird laws because we need laws. And if you're too dumb, if you've never, so for those of y'all don't know, you have to have a license and a bunch of other stuff in Tennessee to own a pet raccoon. Arkansas and other states don't have the same requirement. Now, anyone who's ever trapped or been around a raccoon that's maybe not like a baby raccoon, they are violent, angry people. Very, very, very. They're not people. They're raccoons. But they get they're mad. They want to hurt you and inflict great pain. So if you're so dumb that you're like, you know what, I think this thing that wants to end me will make a great pet, that's on you. I don't need the government to step in and protect you. You're just a dummy. And so that's kind of the point is I think periodically, I don't love sunsets because they just get re-upped when a law sunsets. I do like the idea of saying, hey, why are we doing what we're doing? Like, that's how I feel about a lot of the cannabis stuff. I don't do all of that. That's not my thing. But what's hilarious is you can go down within the sound of my voice to Broadway, and there are any number of people partaking in cannabis products in Nashville this evening. And it's obviously not something that we are so upset about that we feel like we have to really hammer down. It is still a Schedule I narcotic under federal law. But this is the kind of thing that I just want to ask, why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we still making this a thing? There was just a provision in the continuing resolution that banned cannabis seeds. It amended the 2018 Farm Bill that allowed some different stuff and kind of loosened things up a little bit. And I'm not arguing for the policy one way or another. I'm simply saying I like us to address reality as we find it and not try to make a, if we're not going to enforce the law, we shouldn't have the law. If we're not going to really crack down on everything, then we shouldn't do it. It's like immigration law. If you have immigration laws, you should enforce it. And we didn't do it for a really long time, and then everything was terrible. Well, I think you should enforce the law. And what's going to happen right now is there are a whole lot of people that recreationally like gummies or cannabis water. Or I don't even know why I would want cannabis water, but somebody does, and somebody wants to sell it to them. And I think we should have those conversations. I think we should have them publicly. We shouldn't do this just inertia. So I want to start with raccoons, but we can move wherever we need to, because I think it's just a weird situation, right? Where government has just been on an autopilot, even in Tennessee. That's my point, is that we just kind of continue and we do things. And I'll use a good example. There's a law that many of y'all are familiar with that was passed by the General Assembly relating to threats of mass violence. It was passed a while ago. And I've heard from a lot of parents. There was a parent that was at the Williamson County School Board meeting, I believe, that has been very concerned that, the proliferation of these threats. I understand that. As a parent, oh yeah. Like when somebody is threatening to shoot up the school or threatening to do something violent, we need to be very cautious about that. No question. It's your kid. But the law in his face doesn't make any real distinction between, a knee-jerk response to somebody saying something that makes you mad. It's just, did you say something that is a threat of violence to more than one person? And so we should probably sit down and look at it and say, okay, can we tailor this in a way that we target the conduct we're really concerned about while not having a dragnet that pulls in kids across the state? And since we don't have a unified judicial system, you don't get numbers on all of this. And that to me is maybe the bigger problem here is when we pass laws, we need to know why we do it. We need to know what the impact is, and then we need to revisit it and say, is this right, or do we need to tweak it or repeal it? And I believe in light touch government. I want to see less stuff on top of us. 5354 says, let people live and live with their decisions. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't love the way marijuana smells. I don't love being around all that. So you know what I do? I'm not around all that. I'm not saying I am entitled to be in this space, and all of you people who look like you're having a good time, I'm sorry, no. That's just not my jam. There's a reason I live in the suburbs and not Nashville. Now, I don't feel as strongly negative about Nashville as Afton Bain does, but, it's just one of those things. I am also very, very interested in 1815's comment of, I made a flamethrower out of an old Kirby vacuum cleaner and carbide. You add water to calcium carbide and it makes an explosive gas. I made a 20-foot flame, but it was too young to know about explosive-proof motors. The thing exploded, and I was lucky to be alive. Sounds like it. Super cool. Dangerous. Okay. I like it. This 8590 is the cautionary tale. When I was in high school, a boy lost an eye when someone threw a gross of bottle rockets in a fire. Yeah, that's possible. That is why you should not do it. And I want to be real clear about this. I'm not being, I'm not just throwing this out there to be silly, right? I think that young men in particular need to evaluate risk, encounter that risk, and suffer the consequences. Now, my job as dad is to kind of curate the sandbox, to make sure that the risks that are there are reasonable, that they won't create long-term harm, and that if they did create long-term harm, is that harm that I could live with and the boys could live with? Because I can create a padded room for my boys. And the problem is they will be the product of a padded room and not fit for leadership, not fit to be able to lead their families, their communities, their country through difficulties, right? And so that's something that I think all parents struggle with to a degree, of how much risk should I expose my kids to? What should we do about that? I get it. If I tell you, hey, you can wear a paintball mask and, shoot each other with Roman candles, that is not for everyone. That is not the level of risk that most people are comfortable with, and I understand that. But I do think finding some risk, it might be, hiking through a cave. Like, that's a risk. But finding those things, letting them kind of build that resilience, and sometimes you skin a knee. Sometimes you get burned. Sometimes bad things happen. But that's also life. And you can protect your kids. I can protect my kids for a while, but then they're going to encounter life. And the question is whether they're prepared or not. And I think that's a question that if you wait to answer that until they're adults, it's too late. So all that is just to provide some encouragement to all you other parents out there trying to figure this out, because I sure don't know. It's 6:48. We got to take a break. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7.
Murphy for Eurofix. My man Aaron Stokes has been doing this for a while, y'all, for over 25 years now. Since 1999, he's been servicing and providing superior quality service at a better rate than the dealers. Friends, Eurofix simply does it the right way. You might not know this, but there's an as an auto repair company, they pay their techs even more than anybody else. Why and how can they do that? Well, a good technician's hard to find, and they want to pay their good techs because they want happy techs. Happy techs make people that are going to fix your car faster. They're going to do the job the right way the first time. Everything out there has to be worked on. Eurofix is not open on weekends because they try to give their techs the weekends to spend time with family as well. Why Eurofix is open Monday through Friday, and that's they do the job below dealer pricing. And Aaron Stokes figured out a long time ago that you make a happy technician, make a happy mechanic, and you'll have a happy company, and you'll have happy customers as a result. Call 844-EUROFIX. That's 844-EUROFIX, or go online at myEuroFix.com. That's myEuroFix.com. Don't forget, 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty on all repairs performed, plus a rental car available with every appointment at Eurofix.
Well, thank you for today, folks. It's been a lot of fun. We're heading out to Thanksgiving next week, so very excited about that. And we only have a few minutes left in this show. I did want to take a minute because some of y'all were talking about the marijuana stuff on the 615-737-9986 Super Talk text line. The way I look at these type of issues, and this is why we need to, and several of y'all have basically said, I'm a conservative, but I would support this type of, regulation and legalization. The problem is conservatives have convinced themselves that saying they're supportive of that will revoke their Republican card. That's just not true. You can look at the history of this. There was a Mexican migration in that was the reason that cannabis became illegal. It was basically like a little used street drug. There was the Mexican Revolution. Folks flooded into the United States, and basically marijuana at the time was called cannabis, and they sort of did a political rebrand, and that's the reason this stuff is regulated the way it is. It sort of snowballed after that. Several different politicians decided this was the big bad. You had reefer madness, all that stuff. Again, I'm not a proponent of it. I just think we should be objective in how we consider things. If you look at alcohol-related deaths from 2021 or 2020 to 2021, is 178,000. Marijuana overdose deaths, 0. In fact, you can look at the DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency's or Drug Enforcement Administration's own fact sheet, and says, what are the overdose effects of marijuana? No deaths from overdose of marijuana have been reported. You know what there have been deaths of? The weird other things, synthetic things people take, right? Growing this thing that's been grown and cultivated for a long time is not inherently going to kill lots of people. If we're going to allow things like cigarettes and alcohol, why is cannabis inherently different? And if somebody can answer that and say, well, this is why, then, and not for really weird political reasons over time or, just feelings about how it smells. I don't like the smell of beer. Then fine, but let's be consistent here. Let's try to figure this stuff out in a way that makes sense from a policy perspective, and it isn't just, well, it's a hot button issue. Because we keep doing that. We have political inertia, and we don't know why. And this issue is actually one of the best. I've dug on it to look at it, to understand it. And when you look at the history of how we got where we are, it stems back to the 1910s. In 1930s, Harry Anslinger, who was the head of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, turned it on its head and said, this is huge. And it was talking about the majority of pot smokers are minorities, and it said some just outright racist stuff. Then you had reefer madness in 1936, which kind of got us where we are. So when you understand the history of this stuff and look at it, then you can make a decision and make a vote. And again, as a Federalist, I would love for Tennessee to say, here's how we look at this and here's what we want to do. And the federal government to say, we're out of this. We don't care. 8270 says the long-lasting effect. Okay. Well, I can tell you alcohol has some really long-lasting effects. Drunk drivers. Really? I mean, lasting effect. I don't know if that's enough to do it. But this is enough to do it for this show. You guys have been great. Thank you for your engagement. It's always fun. I'll be subbing in over the holidays here and there, particularly in that week leading up to New Year's. So take care of your families. Enjoy Thanksgiving. Tell somebody you're thankful for them. That is such a big deal. And don't forget it amidst the turkey and cranberry sauce and all that other fun stuff. look around the table and tell each person why you're thankful for them, what they mean to you, and it'll make it a very thankful Thanksgiving. I'm Cameron Smith. This is the Matt Murphy Show, and you've been listening to Super Talk 99.7.